Am I the only one that would be emotionally invested in like 87 and 91?
No, I am. It's got like several of my favourite albums.
That was like your heyday, wasn't it? You were like 40 when it came out.
I'm so glad we're all recording right now.
Sake, man. Right, okay, it was lovely speaking to you guys.
He hit Martyn right at the right time for his midlife crisis.
Yeah, that was when you went and bought the leather jacket and a motorbike, but the motorbike still had a sidecar attached. Yeah, peak Indiana Jones style. Junior, you've got to hear this new band, Junior. What time is it? It's time for another episode of the Cacophony Sessions, the podcast with the most bombast. My name is Dan Whitell, and our mission before you this evening is to fight over our favourite drummers of all time. With the loss of our shit show and tell audio and the recent passing of Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins, we decided to mask our own ineptitude with a celebration of all things banging. Be prepared to sigh every time we say the word bang, or take a drink if you're up to the challenge. Helping me on tonight's show will be Alex.
Is your name Ariel? Because it seems like we were mermaid for each other.
I think I'm going to stop doing this podcast.
Oh, you feeling your balls how bad that one was.
Martyn!
Drum solos are much like sneezes. You know it's coming, but there's nothing you can do about it.
Apparently, if you're about to sneeze and say pineapple, you don't sneeze. So if you say pineapple with a
drum solo.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Dan B.
One-liners, never enough. Michael Gove. Allegedly.
Michael Gove.
And Tom.
You're going to hear many quotes taken out of context, an idea we got from the Daily Mail.
Have you noticed every time Tom does a one-liner, everyone just left just a bit puzzled, and it always goes down like a lead balloon?
They're the thinking man's quotes, Tom.
I'm still trying to do the David Mitchell quote thing, and I'm running out of them, right? So I'm having to make them work now.
I don't even think David Mitchell's that quotable.
He's not. That's the problem. But somebody made the comment. Yeah, but somebody made the comment, and now I've got to keep it going. So, I'm just
run that joke into the ground.
Absolutely. The key to comedy is repetition.
So we are the Cacophony Sessions, as known on Twitter at Cac Sessions Pod, and we are also available on our blog, cacophonisessions.wordpress.com. We may have a Patreon launching very soon, but we're going to need some input from you as an audience, because we are going to launch a Q&A monthly bonus episode, but we need you to ask us some questions before we start doing that. So get in touch and we'll let you know how you can find and join in with that. We'd also like to thank Chart Music for giving us a shout out on our most recent episode. So thanks very much to them. It was great to have both David Stubbs and Taylor Parks on recently. So go back and listen to those bonus episodes if you haven't already. But tonight is all about drumming. As I mentioned earlier, sadly, the Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins, who was somebody who confused me as a 12-year-old when he appeared in his air hostess garb in the Learn to Fly video. A very pretty man, nonetheless, but also has a legacy as being a fantastic drummer. So as I mentioned earlier, we are going to mask our own ineptitude that we couldn't deliver the last episode, and instead we are going to nominate 3 of our favourite drummers of all time. Now, we have a new segment called Does It Slap? So, what we're going to do before we find out the new releases and the news and what everyone's been up to, we will see if anyone wants to step into the spotlight and nominate an undeniable banger from the get-go this evening. And we ask, does that song slap? So we've got an opportunity here, out of context, to just put any one song into the Hall of Fame and see if we can get it in. Who wants to go first?
I have actually got one.
Right, okay, so Tom, you can be our first contestant on Does It Slap?
Don't trade a podcast where the jingles are crap. So let's take a good song and ask, does it slap?
Because Arcade Fire have a new album coming out.
No, it doesn't slap.
No, it doesn't slap.
Fuck you guys!
Don't trade a podcast where the jingles are crap. So let's take a good song and ask, does it slap?
Next. Arcade Fire can go fuck themselves.
Let's move on.
Rebellion Lies by Arcade Fire.
Boo. You can stick your crappy student rock up your ass.
Student rock.
I bet they wear fucking ties on stage.
Man bun music.
I've got a cool sleeve and a beard. I listen to Arcade Fire.
Arcade Fire were amazing in their
Yeah,
first
they're the sort of
album.
people that get their breakfast from those cereal bars in London that you have. You know what I mean?
The sort of people that drink Yakult.
You know Arcade Fire are from Canada, right?
If it's up to me, I'll put them on the sun.
They would live up to their name if they lived on the sun, I guess. Anyway, in the spirit of the competition, this is our new segment. It's supposed to be glossier and shinier than this. So, Tom, which song were you going to nominate?
I was going to nominate Rebellion Lies off Funeral from 2004. Everybody knows that song, even if you don't know you know it.
I think it slaps.
Yeah, so do I. Thank you, Dan.
I definitely don't think it slaps. It's that fucking vocal thing that they do. Everyone together. It's Vodafone advert bullshit. That's what it is.
What? I just don't know what planet we've walked into where Dan and I are agreeing on stuff.
I know, and I think it's going to happen again more and more often.
Yeah, what's gone on, Dan?
I don't know.
What happened to us?
I don't know. I think it was because we were rubbing shoulders with Taylor Parks, you know.
Yeah, I think he's ruined us. I think it's really important that we get this in on the podcast somewhere, because we had Taylor Parks on for our guest episode, who is an absolute legend and really interesting guy. And when he talked about chart music podcasts, for people who listen to this podcast but haven't listened to chart music, are intimidated by the length, the way they describe it is you wouldn't try and read a book all in one go. So it is designed for you to be able to dip in and out of it. So definitely give it a listen and don't be put off by the fact it's 7 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
I'll kind of second the chart music podcast thing. I don't listen to podcasts, and I pretty much...
And it shows.
Yeah, it does show. It's pretty much the only podcast I listen to, and I fucking enjoy every second of it. It's.
Don't even listen back to our episodes, man. You're too edgy for
I don't even listen to ours, no.
I don't listen to my own work, man. You know?
No.
So what have we been doing? I'm going to go round and find out what's new, what's hip, what's happening. Tom, let's start with you.
I've been playing a lot of bass recently because... I don't know if we've actually had an episode since I completely upgraded my bass rig and bought a 6-string and had to completely relearn how to play bass.
Was it your first real 6-string?
Bought it at the 5 and dime.
Tom's got a new bass, by the way. Nobody knew.
That doesn't translate on the podcast because the other people listening to this are not in our band.
Are your fingers bleeding?
No, they're not. So it's my first 6-string bass guitar, but I do have normal guitars.
It is a beautiful bass, and the sound you get from it is pretty fucking majestic.
It's custom built from Poland by a brand called Marushik, and it's a chap out there, and he's absolutely fantastic. So if you are in the market for a bass, go check them out. They're really, really good. But so I've sort of not been quite as on it with new releases as previously.
Oh no,
I know.
But to be fair, like not quite as on it for you is like you were listening to like a new album every like a day. So what is it, once a week now?
Yeah, I've probably managed maybe 1 or 2 a week instead of 5 a week. Recently, the new Kavinsky album. This is where it's all going wrong because I like the new Kavinsky album, and I will be surprised if it doesn't make one of Dan's Album of the Year nominations.
I haven't heard it yet, but I will check it out.
I've never heard of them.
They did the track Night Call.
Yeah, for the movie Drive.
Yeah.
I've watched that film.
Dan will love it. If it's not in your Album of the Year noms, I'll be really surprised.
Describe what it sounds like, because if it's something to do with the Drive soundtrack.
Kind of vaporwave, isn't it?
I'm into that stuff.
Synth pop, Italo disco, light.
Yeah.
There might be something I want to check out then.
It probably is. I mean, in other stuff this year, I mean, a lot of it came out before that. Oh, Porridge Radio dropped a new single. They released an album last year that was fantastic. Real, like, female-fronted indie, just really, really good. And they've just dropped another single, and it looks like they might have another album out this year after dropping one last year.
They're all over Six Music at the moment.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah,
they're absolutely fantastic. But then there are 2 genres that haven't really featured much in 2020 and 2021 that are really back with a vengeance. And I'm going to describe this as emo, but a lot of people would refer to it as post-hardcore. It's not emo like My Chemical Romance. It's emo like early 90s Sunny Day Real Estate. And there's bands like...
They're not good.
in my opinion, obviously, I was never an MCR fan, but I know lots of people were. So there are bands like Foxtails and Northern Life doing some really cool stuff. The Foxtails I've really enjoyed recently. Oh, and actually, finally, I'm not going to talk for ages because I am making a best of 2022 Spotify playlist, which I'm sure there's a way we can actually link it on the blog.
We will put it on the blog.
And that might be a better way of doing it. On a completely different note, I think Roixop had an album out day before yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And that's really good as well.
That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, me too.
I know, but that's why I brought it up, because it's a name you haven't heard in a long time, but you probably remember them. Like Melody AM was fantastic, and the new one is pretty good. And so I'll leave the new releases there. Although this has been a great year for metal and punk. So Alex, when you start going through this year's new releases, you're going to have a great time.
Probably December the 5th.
There's so much out at the moment that you will really, really love. And I think I found one of Martyn's new favourite bands this year.
Cloakroom.
Martyn, have you heard of a band called Pearl Jam? I think they'll really be up your street.
Bunch of hipsters, I heard.
No, that's about right, yeah.
No, I hear they're going to make it big soon.
Dan, what have you been doing?
Oh.
Do it in Pearl Jam.
This answering first.
What, individually?
No, you got to describe what you've been up to, but as Eddie Vedder. I've been doing this. I went to the park with my kids.
Took them to the moors.
It's funny you should say that, because Eddie Vedder's, like, he had a solo album out, and it did sound kind of like a man who was once filled with pain is now filled with, like, the ennui of everyday life. Just like, yeah, I got a family
like,
now.
You know, like when you wake up in the morning and you like clear your throat, you're like, Dragon's like, like he has like a different, it's Eddie Vedder cough, like.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I reckon most like famous vocalists probably have a really annoying sneeze. You know how there's like usually one person in an office who sneezes louder than everyone else, and you know it's them. I reckon most good vocalists have some sort of distinct sneeze.
The Vedder sneeze, that's brilliant.
Sorry, Dan, go on.
No, it's fine. So I've not been doing a lot. Been playing a game called Tunic on Game Pass, which is really good. You're a fox, so that's immediately great. It's sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, an isometric Dark Souls, but 2D playing, like you're not in a 3D world, you're only moving on a flat sort of world. Check it out. Really recommend it. They don't really explain anything to you as you're doing. You sort of, the whole idea is everything you come to is in a weird made-up language, like Fez. I don't know if you ever played Fez.
I quite enjoyed Fez when I worked out what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, it's that kind of game where you slowly work out what you're doing and you don't really get it on purpose at first. And you pick up manual pages, so you actually pick up pages of the game's manual, which obviously there aren't anymore because it's a digital game. But as you pick up pages of the manual, it sort of starts translating bits of it, so you can read some of the manual and then start to understand some of what you're supposed to do. And then the more you pick up, you then can go back through the old pages that you picked up ages ago and go, oh, that meant this. And basically you have to keep going back through it.
It's a similar mechanic to that in Final Fantasy X, I seem to remember.
Maybe. It's been a long time since I played Final Fantasy X.
You learn the Albed.
Yeah, like that. So I've been playing that. That's been really good. David Mitchell alert. I'm going to go and see David Mitchell, Lee Mack, and Rob Brydon next week in Torquay.
Nice.
They're doing like a
That'd be cool.
sort of weird comedy night. I don't know if it's all planned or if it's sort of ad-lib with the audience. I'm not really sure, but
It's just an episode of Would I Lie to You?
might be. Yeah, quite possibly.
David Mitchell's a fucking genius, to be fair. He's amazing.
Yeah, Mark Corrigan's one of the best characters ever. So.
Problem is with David Mitchell, I don't think he could take credit for Peep Show because he didn't write any of it.
No, true.
Peep Show's so good, but I feel like he's been coasting off Mark Corrigan, but he didn't really have any input on it other than acting him, which, to be fair, is a big part of it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it is the characters of Mark and Jez. You know, Mitchell and Webb, they were great when they did their sketch show and stuff.
That was great.
They're genuinely good comedy writers. David Mitchell in his own right is he's one of my favourite comedians. He's great. And he's one of those people that's great off the cuff. Like, if you throw him something, he'll come back with something hilarious. Just because he kind of lives this grumpy Englishman character, which is a great thing to be able to do. Man, you'll enjoy that.
Inspirational.
Yeah, no, it'd be good.
Yeah, we'll do. I'm not going, but I wish I was. See, My Chemical Romance are playing in the Eden Project next month or this month. Still a few tickets left, I think, but it's like £60-something, so sort of not quite ready to pull the trigger on it, but probably should.
It's on weekend. I might go. I
don't think it is. I think it's like a Monday or a Tuesday.
I won't be going. I've run out of eyeliner.
The eyeliner I had from the early 2000s, I think I've probably still got somewhere, but it's probably like dry in a tube.
Martyn, has it been tough cycling around, and, working and stuff?
Finding mattresses.
Catch us up, man. What have you been doing?
Literally have just been working so much. But anyway, besides that, I went to see one of my favourite bands of all time, a band that changed my life, basically. Back in the early 90s, I was mega into grunge, and there was this like movement called the shoegaze that the kids had back then. I went to see Ride, and what was amazing about it was I went with a couple of friends, and it was, got there, and it was in Bristol, hanging about, and there was loads of like, obviously 40, 50-something-year-old guys with grey hair with Ride T-shirts on, basically my age group, the glory days sort of thing. And I thought, this gig's going to be like all right. I'm going to enjoy the band, but it's just going to be a bunch of old dudes stood there nodding their heads. Went to see the band, and they started playing, and I was into it straight away. They were fucking incredible, absolutely mind-blowing. They played their Nowhere album in full. But about halfway through the third song, Kaleidoscope, a bunch of like young people, like in their early 20s, barged in and started a mosh pit, and I was like, "This is fucking amazing!" Of course, I dived in. I went right in there, and it was like seeing Ride back in the early 90s. The energy was just so incredible. I was not expecting it at all. I thought this is a legacy band that are like kind of, they're all past it, we're all past it sort of thing. It's kind of like a museum piece. But I was in the mosh pit, we're fucking getting chucked around loads, stage divers the lot. It was just really, really old school. And and I met the drummer under duress. I didn't want to because I don't meet band members. That's not what I do. But my mate is into doing that sort of thing, and he was like, "You've got to come and fucking come." We had a little photo opportunity and stuff.
I wasn't going to mention it till later on, but
man.
I've seen the photo of you with Loz Colbert, who is the drummer, who we're going to be talking about in a moment.
I was losing my shit. I was like, this is the most hilarious thing. Just in there, in Wetherspoons, right, in Bristol, just having a meal with his family, with his kids and his wife. I wouldn't want to be overwhelmed by people coming up to me saying, "Oh, you're a hero" and shit. He was so cool about it. He was just like, fucking enjoying his life. And yeah, it was a really nice moment. It was just really nice to see a band that I've hero worshipped for decades now, and just see them in absolutely sounding exactly like they did back in like the early 90s. In fact, they probably sounded better.
What was he in? Is he a beer and burger man?
Fucked if I know. I was hammered, mate.
I did notice that in the photo because you were pulling your Daniel Day-Lewis at the end of There Will Be Blood face. To have a tendency when after a few sherbets to pull your Daniel Day-Lewis at the end of There Will Be Blood face. It's the reason why actually we're very good friends, Martyn. But I won't go bowling with you. And I will never enter any kind of oil extraction business with you, just simply out of fear. I also probably wouldn't ever meet you for a milkshake, just because you probably drink it. What's been happening with you then, Al?
Yeah, I've just been riding around, going to work, trying to sell a Baphomet. I've had 6 girlfriends since you last talked to me. I've been obviously going to work, but I've been listening to a lot of Lorna Shore. I'm not sure any of you guys would have heard of them. They're kind of like the biggest like deathcore band at the moment. They're like I kind of fell out of love with the genre, but yeah, these guys are very, 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 very good. Music wise, I haven't listened to like loads. I got a new phone, so I had to when you have that new. because I don't use Spotify or anything like that. All of my music on my phone is what I drag and drop on, and then you can only put a certain amount on because you only use all your data because you've got to keep porn on it as well. So
Tractor porn.
But so I redid my music, and I've
hardcore ploughing.
Yeah, so I've redone it. So my shuffle has been very different from what it was like a month ago. So I'm enjoying some old favourites. I've actually been listening to I've listened to a bit of My Chemical Romance recently. I'm actually on my phone now trying to think. It's very hard to tell people what you're listening to because I don't know. Are we getting quite into Anthrax?
Oh man, what era? What era? They're my favourite of the big four, and actually, the drummer was almost one of my choices.
What's the album with Madhouse on it? The one where it's like
you're talking early Anthrax now.
Yeah, the one where like the front of the album is like a guy looking a bit insane. I can't remember what it's called, but that album is good.
I'm more into the later stuff when they went a bit grunge. The new singer, John Bush.
Oh, I see. I don't think I've ever really listened to his stuff.
To get the fact checker out of the cupboard for a second, the Anthrax album with Madhouse on it is Spreading the Disease.
Oh yes, that is a classic. I will maintain like either Megadeth or Anthrax were the best of the big four.
I really like Megadeth, and I'm slowly really getting into Anthrax, but I don't know. Like on paper, I always think I prefer Megadeth, but quite frankly, I still probably think Metallica is the best of the four, and I really like Megadeth, so it's hard.
Hang on, isn't Slayer the other one of the four?
Well, no.
Yes,
well,
right.
no,
I'm going
I
Slayer.
Don't ignore Slayer. I ignore Slayer because they're really good, but there's only so many times you can release the same album.
You could argue it's a big five because I think at the time when thrash was fucking massive, and we're talking post-Black Album, was Pantera could probably be added to that list.
But Pantera aren't thrash, though.
It's more groove metal.
Yeah.
I love Pantera. I prefer them to all the big four, but they're not in the thrash big.
Other than music, I mean, I've finished building my Warhammer 40,000 or 40k army. I finished building it. I need to start painting it now.
Hang on, you'll have to remind me. Is it an Orc army or is it like a Space Marine army?
It is a Space Marine Imperial Fists army, if you must know.
Have you got like the tank? If you got like the tanks and everything, you know.
I haven't got one tank. No, I've got a lot of troops and a few dreadnoughts.
And also, I remember, because I got into Warhammer for a bit, and you used to get the dwarves as well, didn't you? You remember the dwarves, and they used to ride around on the big, massive trikes.
Oh, okay, they're called squats, and they're...
Squats, that's it, yeah.
They haven't been in the game since
they
like
haven't
the
been in the game for like 20 years, but this year they're now relaunching them as an army, so it's actually weird you bring them up. I watched the new Batman film with Robert Pattinson.
No spoilers, I haven't seen it yet.
Everyone says it's really good, but I don't know, I find it a bit tedious. It's like Batman, but just having discussions in rooms for 3 hours, I don't know.
Yeah, as somebody who watches a lot of Twitch streamers, like, that sounds good to me.
I don't know, I can't go over Robert Pattinson's jawline, it's like ridiculous, it's like...
You're just jealous,
honestly, man. It's like his chin is like a... What are those spades you use for gardening? The pointy ones.
Trowel.
A trowel. He's got a fucking trowel face, and it annoys me.
Just need to watch Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire to see him die.
He is a pretty good actor, though, man. Like I've seen a couple of independent films with him where he does like more character-based roles, and he's actually really good.
He's a massive Final Fantasy VII fan as well, so he'll always be one of the good guys in my book.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I've been doing something that I can actually interrupt this to bring it around to what I've been up to, because I made an appearance on the Simon Says podcast, which you can find on YouTube. So it was a video podcast. I didn't know it was a video podcast until they told me at the time. But yeah, it's a good fun discussion about podcasting in general. It was recorded last summer, so I look a little bit different now, a bit more weathered and a bit more rugged. But there are also audio-only versions for those of you with loins that cannot contain themselves. That which is available on all the same platforms that we're on. Other than that, what I am doing, we talked about gigs that people are going to. I'm going to see Gary Newman on Friday.
Oh, man!
The owner of the worst wig in pop music, but nonetheless...
No, Gene Simmons.
No, Gary Newman is...
No, Gene Simmons, it's like he's got a fucking rat on his head.
I think it would have been Gary Glitter, but his pop career was ended due to other events.
I'm pretty jealous, man. Like he's one of the pioneers, man. He's like
his new album, Intruder, is quite good.
My life.
It's more of an electronica industrial act now, which is interesting. I'm going to see it with my family who remember the classics, so I'm not sure how it's going to go down with them because he has changed quite a lot as an artist. But I love all our friends' Electric, Cars, Classics, Metal, Airlane.
Man, our friends Electric is probably in the top 10 songs of all time. It's
Also, I'm a bit fond of Music for Chameleons.
Yeah,
as made famous by Alan Partridge in his airbase in the caravan.
I forgot to mention as well, actually, because you're coming up, we also booked tickets for next year to see Don Broco.
Awesome. Going to see that. I'm hopefully going to see Tears for Fears next month as well. They're playing in Exeter. And their most recent album was really good. I enjoyed that a lot. And I should also mention as well that end of this month, end of May, as of recording, I'm going to see George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic. They're playing the Weekender Festival in Margate. It's going to be a bit of a party on the beach.
Do you reckon their rider is just 10 packs of Werther's Originals?
They are
at that
80s,
age.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Roy Ayers playing as well?
Roy Ayers is playing, Sister Sledge is playing, and
Fuck me, what a great lineup.
Craig Charles is doing a set on each night as well.
What an amazing gig that'll be.
In terms of new releases, Tom said he's had a few good albums out that he's listened to this year. I've also found some good music. Sid's album, she is from the internet. Her album is fantastic. The name escapes me right now. One of my surprise favourites of the year so far has been Jack White's After the Dawn. I really like that album. It's got more energy than his last few releases, and he sounds like he's enjoying himself more. It's interesting with the crossover hip hop track. Q-Tip features on it. That was an unusual collaboration, but I enjoyed that a lot. Charlie XCX's album Crash is one of my favourites as well. I've enjoyed some of her output in recent years, but it's never quite come together enough. This album is the one where I think it's the most cohesive and just back-to-back bangers. So I really enjoyed that. I listened to Wet Leg. That was quite enjoyable.
Yeah, I like that album.
That was
Wet Leg are great.
A decent attempt. And also Swedish House Mafia are back. It's been 10 years since their last album, and they've got a new album out which has got a collaboration with Sting. It's almost a cover of Roxanne, retitled Red Light. It's really good if you like your dance music. Those are the new releases from me. Anyone else got any that we've neglected to mention?
There's probably like 1,000 I should be listening to, which Tom will tell me about, and I will listen to them in the last minute at the end of the year. But right now, I can't think of any.
I don't know if a new album was on the way, but David Holmes, the producer, he's extremely prolific generally, but he's released a couple of new songs that are getting a lot of Six Music airplay. He's great. He did like the Ocean's 11, 12, 13 soundtrack and that, and lots of other production stuff. He's produced like all kinds of people, and he's a bit like an Uncle character, or like a Death in Vegas kind of guy, where he'll like produce an album and have lots of guest vocalists on, or guest musicians on, I should say. But he's had a couple of new songs out which are really, really fucking awesome. Really kind of like multi-genre, which I'm really into. You know, I love like Massive Attack and Uncle and stuff. But yeah, I'm hoping that it's a teaser for releasing maybe an album possibly this year, but there's been nothing in the press about it.
Well, I hope he does, because I mean, if he releases an album and we get it on our end of the year list, then we can really put Holmes under the hammer. Right, now we've bashed that out, it's time to bash out our favourite drummers of all time. The reason we're here tonight is to discuss our favourite drummers of all time. We're going to bring these up in no particular order, other than the fact that we have each nominated 3, so I'll probably rotate around. First up, for discussion in the world of drumming, David Eric Grohl was born January 14th, 1969 in Warren, Ohio. He's the founder of Foo Fighters, for whom he's the singer, guitarist and primary songwriter, and has shared drumming duties with Taylor Hawkins until his recent passing. He was also the drummer for Nirvana from 1990 to 1994, and is now surpassed that role to be known as one of the most famous musicians in the world, with appearances on albums from Tenacious D to Queens of the Stone Age. So Dave Grohl, Dan, this was your nomination. Tell us a bit about what Dave Grohl means to you.
Oh, like you said, he's had a long and illustrious career. I think for me, it's his personality as much as it is his musical talent. He seems to be like a guy you can have a good chat with. He's got good morals, good standing, that sort of stuff. I've watched a 22-minute video of his drumming, which I wasn't really intending to do. I sort of put it on just to get my mind back into what does Dave Grohl's drumming actually sound like, because obviously, like you said, he does so many other things. And yeah, there is a video on YouTube which you can watch, which is just him drumming for 22 minutes. And he sort of goes in lots of directions with it. You think he's almost in another world at some point. He just gets really into the groove of it all. And you know me, I like my YouTube comments, so I've got a few good ones that sort of sum it up quite nicely. First comment says, "This guy needs to start his own band." There. Some of the other ones say things like, "22 minutes ago, I thought to myself, I'm not watching all of that." It's one of those you sort of think, well, that's a lot of drumming. I'm not gonna, and you just find yourself watching the whole thing.
The thing is with Dave Grohl, because I think the reason for that is that his drumming's like a lead instrument. He's very melodic in the way he delivers his beats. So yeah. I think you can listen to it by itself.
I'm not saying he's technically the most gifted drummer of all time, because he's just clearly not, but I think he has got that feel to it. He goes with that. Another one I thought was very funny is, wow, put two guys who play grunge with this guy, and you might have a really good band. These people have really got some clever ideas, I think. So, yeah. So he's a good drummer, but can he play the guitar and sing? Yes, I think he can. Anyway, Dave Grohl, drumming is not his biggest talent, so I feel weird putting him on this list. I think he's just a good all-around musician. He's probably not the best at any one of the things he does, but he's just pretty damn good at most of the things he does. So,
I think that hits the nail right on the head.
Hey!
Drink.
Bingo.
The thing that I love about Dave Grohl, I've got my reservations because I'm not really into the whole cult of personality thing. Where at the moment, it's like Dave Grohl's the greatest guy in music, the usual stuff. But Dave Grohl knows music so well, and he knows his history. He's fucking he just. He started out in hardcore bands and stuff, and he learned his chops with bands that were very challenging in the way that a drummer would have to play with them. And he learned really young, and he just basically threw himself into music. Now, not just the sort of technique of playing drums and the lineage that he has carried with him, but alternative music in general. It's almost like he's a museum curator. He kind of it's not just the songwriting and the making the music, but he's really into production as well. I don't know if any of you have seen their film Sound City.
I have. I was just about to mention that.
Yeah, it's so good because he's really interested in a mixing desk, and he bought this mixing desk, the Sound City mixing desk, which is pretty much one of the most important pieces of musical equipment of all time. And he's not just into I play drums and I write songs and I play guitar and I'm in a band. He's into the whole studio stuff and production, and also his way of going I'm going to go and collaborate with all these other bands, and he kind of he pimps himself out to other musicians that he really respects, and he's got a deference to them. He doesn't go into a session going I'm playing with John Paul Jones, going I'm the drummer from Nirvana. He's I'm playing with fucking John Paul Jones, man. This is a hero of mine.
Yeah.
He's got a humility that is so refreshing in such a musician with such an amazing amount of talent. And I'm kind of really not into the whole like Dave Grohl's the greatest musician ever. He's so nice and broke his leg and carried on playing. It's like, yeah, whatever.
That was legendary, though.
That was legendary, but how many other people have done stuff like that? It's just what I love about him is his kind of acknowledgement of going, there are so many far better musicians than me, but I know that I can play along with them, and I can put something on the table. I don't know. There's a humility to him that I really find endearing. I almost chose Dave Grohl, but I thought it was a bit too obvious. But he is pretty much in the alternative rock world one of our greatest musicians in general. He's fucking incredible. And his drumming is second to none. You can't argue with it. I don't know, Tom, you're saying that, but Tom, you're a classically trained musician. You'll go, oh my god, that's a little bit out of time there.
No, it's not that.
No, it's not about being out of time.
He's got punk roots. He's got punk roots, and that's what we need to remember about that. His roots are in punk and hardcore. That's where he came from. That's where his soul lies.
I like his drumming in Nirvana, but there's a couple of things, actually, that I'm just going to bring up. So my first one is I took real umbrage with Dave Grohl when he gave an interview and he actually started talking about how he was jamming in a garage as kids with Kurt Cobain, which is patently untrue, because actually he didn't join the band until 1990 when they were already going, and they poached him from another band called Scream.
He's not on their first album, Bleach, is he?
No, he's not. He didn't join the band.
Channing, isn't it?
Yeah, he joined partway through the sessions for Nevermind. He's a decent drummer. He has a very interesting hi-hat placement. So his hi-hat's 2 foot above the snare, which is quite interesting. And that apparently comes from the fact that when he learnt to drum without a kit. So he learned to drum by just hands on drumsticks on knees and cushions and things, because then he didn't have to worry about noise. And so that's where the hi-hat placement comes from, because that's obviously where the cushion was, I guess. He hits the drums very hard. There's a really interesting story from the MTV Unplugged they did, where they talk about they made him play with brushes for the whole gig because he couldn't not play loud. And I think that's everything he's played on. He plays loud. So, I really like some of the fills and things he plays. But for example, if you listen, he drummed on a Cat Power record, and you listen to the drum part that he puts on He War, and it's just for me, it's totally wrong. They've had to mix the volume of it down so you can hear the drums are being hit really hard from the timbre of the drum, but they've had to reduce the volume in the mix because it's just a bit overplayed. So there are drummers who are really good at lots of different styles. One guy who's not on this list, who's an obvious one to mention for that, is actually Ginger Baker, who does Afrobeat and things like that later on in his career and can mix genres really well. Dave Grohl does one genre as well as anybody else. So in the alternative rock genre, he's as good, if not better, than a lot of the drummers out there. He's probably deserving of being talked about. If you're going to do 50 greatest drummers, yeah, you'd probably put him in the list. Is he going to be making top 10? If you're looking at it on a technical standpoint, no, he probably isn't. On a musical standpoint, I mean, yeah, the intro to Smells Like Teen Spirit is pretty iconic. It's not a particularly unique riff, but it was
anyone
iconic.
could have done it.
Anyone could have done it.
And it was ripped off by Kid Rock as well for All Summer Long. So obvious masterpiece.
He's marketed himself very well, and like Josh Homme, who is a musician who I usually respect, did talk about being the greatest drummer. I think he's a great drummer because he's easy to work with and usually plays the song if it's the style that he plays.
Well, it's like what Martyn says, though. He may only play rock music and he may lack dynamics. I think it's a term that Tom was trying to say. I think it's dynamics in drumming, the different volume levels, I guess. It's something I myself struggle with. I can only hit hard as well. But I don't know, there is something to be said about, the bottom line is he's in two incredibly popular bands. But every time people like him so much because what is, his drum beats sound quite good, but also any interview you hear him in, like his enthusiasm, not for his own music, but for music in general, is quite infectious. And
exactly
he's one of those
that.
people where you can't not like just because no matter how famous he is, he does approach it as a fan of all of it. So I don't know. I personally, I'm not the biggest Foo Fighters fan. I went for a massive Nirvana phase. I don't listen to him as much anymore, but yeah, he is a very good drummer. Like you can tell if it's him playing it. Like there's been like 100 bands where he's like beating the drummer on it, and you hear about it.
You can hear it's him,
but you can hear it's him, which is in itself. I mean, especially as a drummer, that's as much a compliment as you can have as a drummer, because I mean we all know about a billion bands where you couldn't name the drummer because they sound good, they do the job well, but they don't have a very distinctive style. But you can definitely tell it's him. Like 100% you can tell it's him.
But he's a fan of music, and I think as a musician myself, if I wasn't a fan of music, I wouldn't be as good as I am because I'm a genius. And I am, man. And anyway, I think being a fan of the music you love and wanting to emulate the musicians that came before you is a mark of absolute respect for your art form. And I think Dave Grohl has totally nailed it in his own particular little kind of, well, I say little, alternative rock is massive, but he has nailed it in the alternative rock universe. He is alternative rock. He's not going to do Afrobeat. He's not going to do jazz. He's not going to do funk. He is going to stick to what he does, but he does it fucking well. And he doesn't pretend to be a Ginger Baker, for instance. Like you said, Tom, Ginger Baker was beyond. He's something else.
Well, he's managed to achieve a certain level of fame where 99.999% of drummers will never achieve. I guess obviously he's been a frontman as well, but you wouldn't feel weird if he was a judge on Britain's Got Talent. You know what I mean? That's how famous he is. I mean, he's just one of those guys. So, I mean, that in itself says a lot.
He is to alternative rock what Snoop Dogg is to hip hop.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah.
In that he can appear on anything and it's not going to damage his credibility. And he's not always going to be the most intricate man for the job, just like Snoop Dogg isn't going to give you the most mind-blowing verses on a track. But he's going to do a job, and it's going to elevate the popularity of the art itself just by virtue of him being on it. And I think that's what he brings to the table. It's the character. There's not a lot of pretense with Dave Grohl, as there is with a lot of other musicians. Maybe some on this list, maybe some not. But there's not a lot of pretense, and I think that's why people like him. And he'll always have work because
if fame for being a drummer was a barometer, he'd be the top of our list.
There's a couple of people on this list that I would argue could be seen as more famous.
I think globally, there's on the list we've got. There's only one who comes close to Grohl.
Phil Collins, probably.
No, actually, no, he wasn't the one I was thinking of. In terms of modern, Phil Collins is...
We'll get there.
Spoilers.
We'll get there and we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, let's do that.
So second on our list for discussion, Eric Smelly Sandin is an American musician born on the 29th of July 1966 and is a founding member of punk band NoFX and a former member of punk rock band Caustic Cause. He has largely remained in NoFX since its inception. He did leave briefly in 1985, but he was convinced to return, and he's been on it ever since. Alex, this was your choice, so take it away.
Okay, so we'll just call him Smelly from now because that's how all his fans know him as. But he's known as Smelly because he would fart horrendously in the bus, and they were heroin farts, so they were fucking horrific. So you got to remember the first 4 NoFX albums he recorded whilst on heroin. So if you ever listen to him, wow, he's really quick. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I really like him because he kind of sums up what my style of drumming. If I was to be able to play, if I could drum the way he drums, I'd be quite content to just that's it. I'm a massive fan of just double time snare beat over punk drums, and he pretty much didn't invent it, but he pretty much made it popular in like modern punk drumming. Like the amount of times where like, I don't know, it's so basically if you're like just playing a flat punk beat like to then double time over it like within the same verse, that's very unique. You know what I mean? It isn't like he'll change drum beats up when the riff changes. He will essentially craft the feel of the song around riffs. If you see what I mean? So, I mean, he's one of those drummers where if you can play that fast, it's all quite simple. Like none of his drum beats are ridiculously complicated or anything like that. But for me, it's more like when he changes tempos, you know what I mean? And obviously, you know, drumming, a big part of it is you're in charge of the tempo, you're in charge of the feel of the song. And I don't think there's many drummers which do it better than him. Like, obviously, you know, there will be a lot of drummers that do it, but he essentially takes what is a 4/4 punk song and changes the dynamics several times throughout a song. Like, even if you listen to their most popular song, Linoleum, it's like halfway through the verses, he'll just double the drum beats. Like, and it doesn't feel weird or forced or out of place. It feels very good in time. He'll do it like, you know, most drummers will maybe do that for a bridge into a pre-chorus or something. He'll do it halfway through the verse into the bridge and then slow down in the chorus, and it's one of those styles of drumming where I personally really like what I really like. I'm a massive fan. It's pretty much the reason I love NoFX so much. I mean, probably I'm quite a big NoFX fan, but I feel like I've been talking about him non-stop for the last like 5 podcasts. I'm not that big a fan, but this happened to be coming up. But yeah, that's kind of it really. He's also, because he's been sober now for like 15 years or something, and so you remember when he goes on tour, they're all drinking and doing drugs now. He literally like just goes back to the hotel and does nothing else. Like his entire thing is, I literally do it because I enjoy playing gigs. And if you listen to any interview of him, he's the most positive guy out there. He's just brilliant bloke. And like, yeah, he might not be the best drummer in the world, but I guarantee you, everybody who's into punk music and plays like punk music as a drummer, they will put him in like the Mount Rushmore of punk drummers, especially for that era of like pop punk during the like, mid 90s to early 2000s. It's just, yeah, I mean, he's still got his chops. Even in like, album of the year I put in, what is it? I can't remember what the album's called now. Like, not self-titled.
Single album.
Single album, yeah. The last track on that song, his drumming is insane. It's so quick, and it doesn't use double bass pedals for his double hits. Like, it's all one pedal, and it's so on point. And you got to remember, he plays that fast for like an hour and a half set. It isn't like 1 or 2 songs where he's got a quick bit in it. It's all of the songs are that quick, and it's just brilliant.
He's the only member of NoFX who's in shape, really, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he's.
There's probably only 2 drummers on this list who can match him for speed.
I mean, it's just so quick and like effortless. If you watch him playing a gig live, it's literally just like he's looking around like whatever, like. But I also quite like him because he's not a technical drummer or anything. Like I've seen drum videos where he's playing ultra quick and he'll fuck up a fill and you're like, but then he'll laugh about it, and then like it's very humanizing, if you know what I mean. That like he plays like, you know, he plays the sort of drums where if you saw him in your local pub, you're like, that guy is amazing. But if you put him on a microscope, he probably isn't. You know, it's just. But it just sounds great on the songs, and for me personally, other than obviously Fat Mike, he makes no effects like. He is their sound. It's like saying if you were like, you listen to, I don't know, like Black Sabbath, like you'd be like, oh yeah, it's Ozzy Osbourne, you know, and all that stuff. But everyone will always forget about Bill Ward. But he is their sound. If like as soon as you got rid of Bill Ward, they wouldn't sound like Black Sabbath. He's one of those people where you wouldn't like recognize him like as, you know, their sound, but he is their sound.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for drummers like that are so key to the sound of the band, and he's and Smelly's definitely one of them. You can hear a lot of, even in his 80s stuff, you can hear how it would have influenced bands like Bad Religion, for instance. So he's quite important in the grand scheme of things.
Well, to be fair, they were influenced by Bad Religion.
Yeah,
so.
they're all around at the same time. I watched an interview with Smelly that's hilarious because they talked to him about how long he's been drumming for, and he says, I started drumming a couple of years before he joined NoFX, and the only reason he's a drummer, according to him in an interview, after he was sober, so it's probably true, is he said that there was a group of guys that he really liked and he wanted to get in with down the road who were forming a punk band. And they had a bassist and a guitarist and a singer, so they wanted a drummer. He said if they'd have wanted a bassist, I'd have been a bassist. He just wanted to play punk. And I actually, of the punk drummers, I think he's one of my favourite to listen to because of that. Because he's very. So I'll explain it now because I won't talk about it again. To explain a little bit of context, so my younger brother's a drummer. And I play bass, so you have to sort of you have to know a bit about drums as a bass player, because if you don't know about drums as a bass player, you're a shit bass player. So you need to know how drums work and what they can feed off. So you have to know a bit about it. And so I remember having a chat with my brother about drums, and he talks about time centers in music. There is a difference between the time center and the beat that the drummer plays. The time center is the implied beat, and drummers can either play ahead of the time center or behind the time center. So you'll hear a drummer sometimes who makes everything sound slower than it actually is, and it always feels like a song's slowing down. That's a drummer who plays behind the time center. Al, for example, is a drummer who likes to push slightly ahead all the time.
It's just lack of tempo.
There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, it's you're pushing the beat to make it sound quicker. And then there's drummers who sit exactly on the beat. And Smelly, what he does really well is he manages to push the time center while also switching between half time, double time, and the standard time while still pushing the tempo. So it's really quite impressive to listen to a drummer who in the 1980s punk, which is very different to the sort of 70s punk that's coming before it, is going to half time but still pushing the beat forwards and still managing to be ahead of the time center while going to halftime, and that's really interesting to listen to. As Al says, he's not a technical drummer, but he's got probably as much longevity as a drummer as anyone else on this list. I know there are people on this list who've had longer careers, but not within one band in the same way. You know, like I think he's been in a band the longest of anyone on the list.
Possibly, yeah.
I think, probably.
I mean, yeah, NoFX were 80s.
Yeah, so he's until today. So yeah, he's the only one who's been in in one band for more than 30 years. And
well, plus you got to remember as well, when he joined NoFX, he'd been drumming for 6 months. Like you said, he wanted to join the band, and he sat away. Literally, he didn't even have a drum kit to sit hitting pots and pans for 6 months. Joined the band, recorded the NoFX album. Probably been drumming about a year. I mean, he's better than me. You know what I mean? And I've been playing for fucking donkey's years now. Well, not playing. I've been looking at my drum kit for donkey's years. I mean, but it is incredible, and it's to play that sort of if you watch any we'll talk about other drummers on this list, but if a lot of drummers playing the stuff he plays straight up, they could do it, but you look at the grimace on their face as they're doing it and ask them to do it for a full set, they've got no chance unless they're a black metal band or a thrash band where that's their bread and butter. It's really difficult. It is very difficult.
There's only 2 guys on this list who can heel toe like he can.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's only 2 of all the guys, because nearly all the other ones, when they're trying to get the double bass drum that fast, are using double bass pedals. But there's only 2 on this. Both of them are my picks actually, but there's only 2 on this list I think who can heel toe as quick as Smelly can.
I'm not into that fast drumming thing at all, as Alex knows. I'm kind of not. I'm kind of remember we talked about Turnstile on the previous podcast was I love it when they do the really fast stuff and then it just goes really slow and just bang into the groove. But I'm not a fan of that really fast drumming all the time sort of thing. But what I have gained from this is hearing Alex's enthusiasm for a drummer in that way, because I'm not a drummer. and I do understand drummers, as a musician, but like hearing how Alex spoke about this drummer, like it just makes me think about it differently a little bit, and going like, I don't know, the technicality of it, like. I could never. I've sat behind drum kits before, and I'm like a dog trying to read classical poetry. It's just an alien world to me. I don't know, man. Like, I wish I had the talent to be able to do what that guy does on the drums. Because it's so pure. He does what he does. And it doesn't deviate from what he's wanting his drum kit to sound like. Does that make sense? The
promise we're always going to have when we're talking about drummers as well. The bottom line is, like, drummers, they don't write some do, obviously, but for the most part, drummers don't write the songs. Like, they don't write the riffs, they don't sing on it. They essentially put a beat to what's already been written. So it's quite hard to, in general, talk about drummers that aren't really your genre, if you know what I mean? Like, it's like you can look at them and go, okay, that's really good, but I don't like it.
You're dead right. But I did watch some NoFX stuff, and I'm not into that style of music at all, really. I'm not into fast punk, but I totally appreciated the amount of effort and work that went into getting it right. And, he's an amazing drummer. End of story. He fits the music perfectly, and that's what you want from a drummer. Being in bands, you want a drummer who will not kind of like overcomplicate things and just like kind of make things awkward, but just go, right, what does the song need? And I think the drummer from NoFX what does the song need? And he provides exactly what the song needs. And I think that's one of actually, that's literally the most crucial talent to have in any band, as any kind of musician, is go, what does the drum need? Does it need, like, this technicality that you're fucking looking for, whatever? But no, the song doesn't need it. It's going to do what the song needs. And yeah, I'm not a fan of NoFX. I haven't listened to much of them, and I'm not qualified to really talk about his drumming that much. But what I will say is it fits the music perfectly, and that's kind of all you need. Any other drummer would not have worked in that band, I think.
My one comment on this drummer when I was watching was, he's got a bit of the Alex Stevens about him.
God, I wish I had his right arm.
That's the sexiest thing you've ever said on this podcast, Al. And Tom will go on to one of your choices. Next up for discussion, Adam Betts is a British musician, best known as founding member of math rock group 3 Trapped Tigers, as well as Colossal Squid. He's kind of known for the triggering of synth pads when he plays, to act simultaneously as the drummer and as a quasi keyboardist as he plays. Tom, talk to us a bit about Adam Betts.
I'd heard 3 Trapped Tigers on record years ago, and I found them a bit dull on record, to be honest. But I went to Arctangent Festival in 2014, and it was on the opening night, and I'd had a couple of joints, and I just heard this sort of sound coming from this stage, like apparently half a mile away, and I just I'm going there, and I watched this set. And the drummer they're an incredible band live. Like, in the moment, I don't think recordings of the live gigs give you quite the feel that you get seeing them. And I saw the band, and this drummer, my brother had talked to me about how this drummer was amazing before. And I watched them live, and I was like, that's amazing how he manages to groove in really odd time signatures and make it heavy and use drum triggers and get the synth sounds in. And then you listen to some of his Colossal Squid stuff. You watch the live videos, and he's doing it all with... It's not done with backing tracks and pre-recorded. It's all done with triggers on his drums, and he's using an...
Is it delay pedals it's called when you record a bar and then repeat it?
Oh, so you can do that with a loop pedal. But
he uses like loop pedals,
does use some loop pedals. So if you watch him live, he's got like foot pedals. He's got a pedal he has on his thigh in some of them, and it's But what's really interesting is, whereas you've got the guys in the 80s who were using electronic drum kits, he's not predominantly using... He's got his pad, like one pad, but he's also using microphones attached to an acoustic kit that then run into the pedals, which is really interesting, and at the time was quite unique, but or fairly unique, not massively. There's other bands who've done it, but it was reasonably unique. And he's doing it in a way to make drums, when we talk about making drums a lead instrument, this guy does it better than anybody else. You know, you look at some of the videos he's done with Colossal Squid, he's a whole band on a drum kit with nobody else there.
Yeah, I Lost Detroit, featuring Saint Saviour. That's really good.
Yeah, I sent you the link to that one. It's and he's doing it all with the drum kit. I mean, I don't think. What's also interesting is, I mean, he looks like a school teacher.
Yeah,
he does. His drum technique is absolutely textbook. His posture's bang on. You know, like his. Everything about the way he plays is just, it's textbook, and then he's adding intellectualism and musician and melodicism in a way that nobody else does, I think. So he had to make the list. There's other drummers who are doing that sort of mathy electronic stuff really well. You've got like Simon Jones, I think he's called, from 65 Days of Static. You've got the guy from Maybe She Will, whose name I can't remember. There's guys doing this sort of stuff, but I think he does it in a much more extreme way, and everything is more than anyone else does. You know, the melodicism is more, the electronic incorporation to an acoustic kit is more, the tempos are higher, the time signatures are more extreme. He just takes everything up. And, you know, if I was a drummer, I'd look at the way he plays and I'd probably put him up there, I think.
I've come away from listening to him and having never heard of him ever, and just been really, really impressed. It wasn't what I was expecting. I love the sort of weird mix of standard drums with the sort of electronic stuff that he's doing. I don't understand it for the life of me, but it's really incredible.
It's all done by magic.
Well done for being an amazing magician. Congratulations, you're good. Well done.
I will say, like, I was suitably impressed by Adam Betts. Like, I was like, oh, this is going to be one of Tom's post rock guys. Oh, here we go. But like, I was like, fuck me, it blew my mind. I was just like, if I was a drummer, this is the sort of drummer I would look up to, in the way that when I started playing guitar, I looked up to Steve Vai. So, like, just a pioneer, an absolute 100% pioneer of rhythm, and just kind of like, you know, taking the drum kit to the next level. I love the fact that, like, one of the videos I watched of him, and it was just him. He wasn't him in the band. It was just like him on his own. He was doing all like the electronic stuff on the electronic pads, and I was going, oh, that's all very great in Nine Inch Nails and stuff. But then it just like flip away and create this fucking amazing groove on the acoustic kit, and it would be fucking heavy, and it'd just be like, whoa, where did that come from? And then it'd be straight back into the electronic stuff.
Sounds like a whole band playing.
Yeah, he was like a whole band playing, and it was just like, I could watch this guy for hours. It was just, yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything Tom said. He's a drummer I definitely will now, like, probably follow a bit and look into the bands that he's been in, because it sounds like he's the sort of drummer that would be in the sort of bands I'd want to listen to. So I want to say thank you, Tom, for that, because, like, yeah, he blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. Yeah, incredible drummer. Absolutely fucking unbelievable. Just, yeah, taking it to a next level and going, it's not just drums, it's like part of the whole musical experience.
I'm going to go further than Tom and actually disagree with Tom in that I think that Route One or Die, the album, the debut album by Three Trapped Tigers from 2011, that's banging.
Oh, it's banging, but it's not as good as they are live. They're much better live.
I'm sure, but it's a great album. I really enjoyed that. The first 3 tracks alone is worth the entry fee. Cram, Noise Trade, Creepies, wonderful.
Dan, did you just admit to liking a proper a proper math rock album.
I did.
What's happened to you, man? You used to be uncool.
I know, and now I've even downloaded the American football debut album. I haven't listened to it yet, but
I mean, I'm really pleased because you're now delving into my neck of the woods. I've got loads of stuff I can show you here, man.
Yeah,
but
I think I'm going to need a beginner's guide to math rock for the blog soon, please, Tom.
Oh, don't say that. You're going to have like 20 recommendations a day coming through on Messenger.
Oh, no.
That's why I'll stick it to an article, Al.
To be fair, to delve into Tom's neck of the woods musically, you probably need a master's degree in mathematics.
I don't have one of those, for the
I've
record.
got an A in GCSE maths.
That'll do. That's all you need. I really want to know what Al thought of Adam Betts, actually.
Well, I don't know. Because the problem is, it's not really my genre. But you know when you can just know someone's like incredible. The problem is to play math rock, you have to be incredible drummer anyway. So I'm not sure how what I don't know takes him into the forefront. What I saw was just essentially that he's making his own music, like you say, with the with the loop pedals and all that stuff. He's essentially a one-man band, but he can't sing. You know what I mean? So all he is a vocalist, he can essentially do all of it. His drumming style was very, very like drum and bass style, you know what I mean? Like when it's getting heavier, he goes very, very snare heavy, and it's very, very, very busy. And he's just really good, isn't he? Like, it's
He also dresses like you, Al.
Oh, does he?
Pretty sure he's wearing your exact outfit in the last YouTube video I watched.
Oh, well. Yeah, he dresses well. Good for him. But, like, his music with, Squid or...
Colossal Squids. Colossal Squids.
Colossal Squid is what I listen to most of because it's a little bit more drum-centric, I guess. I listen to a bit of the band. It reminds me of what would happen if an amazing drum and bass drummer got his very first electric drum kit. You know what I mean? Where it's absolutely insane, but every now and then, he's insane. Like, it's not something I would listen to, but he's obviously very, 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 very good. My only downside to his playing is I feel like there's a lot of people that play like him. So if you were to put his drumming against, I don't know, like 10 other bands Tom's like in the mathcore genre, I'm not sure I could differentiate his playing compared to them. But that doesn't take anything away from him because he's insane and he writes his own music. I mean, if anything, I'd like to review the guy just as an artist because he transcends a drummer, doesn't he? He's not like a normal drummer because he writes his own songs and the songs are just like, well, they're good, aren't they? He's just very good. Like he was one of the few people, he was one of the people on the list where I had a hard time gathering my opinions because, when you watch someone who's just absolutely hot shit, but you get to a point where it's like, I've heard so many people that are hot shit like that, what makes him different to me? And in the 15 minutes of research, I'm not sure I found much more other than the fact that he's insanely good,
So what you're saying is you're going to listen to it more than the 15 minutes that you've done so far?
I probably won't because it's not my genre.
I think
it's kind of like the Steve Vai effect. It's like, as a guitar player, I listen to Steve Vai and I hear what he's doing, and I'm like, there's no way I could ever even approach what he's doing, even though I know what he's doing. Like,
as Dan said, it's like I don't understand how he makes the sounds.
It's kind of like these people are so far advanced that you kind of like go, you appreciate what they're doing, but you can't really relate because all you want to do is just pummel out a power chord.
Yeah, but his rudiments on his snare is just insane. Like, it's his drum rolls and it's so controlled and so technical, and you got to remember he's doing it all in like a weird time signature as well. It's not like he's going off on 1 and 4/4. It's like, he's just very, 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 very good.
So to go to your point as to what elevates him over the other math rock acts is that I think more than anything is that Three Trapped Tigers are only a 3-piece. They're a guitar, a keyboard, and drums, and that's it. Most other math rock acts, you've got 4, 5, 6-piece. You've got other instruments filling in the gaps. When you strip it back to the 3-piece, and the keyboard player is fantastic, but often doesn't do very much. And I think he's got a lot more space to fill and a lot more of a dynamic responsibility within the...
You can tell that in his playing, like, because he is very busy. Like, you can tell he is filling room.
But he's also got a lot of dynamic responsibility that I think other math rock bands, you've got a guitarist who can throw a distortion pedal down to give it the lift, whereas he has to do it. And I think that's what differentiates his playing. I don't know if you got that from what you were listening to.
I also like the fact he has essentially everything except the kitchen sink on his floor tom.
Yeah.
It's pretty busy with just random shit on it.
Cowbell on the floor tom. No stand.
Yeah, he also has that tiny little cymbal which he hits once or twice in that song with what's her name that you were talking about earlier, Will. And it sounded fucking atrocious. It's like dunk. What was that there for? but yeah, no, he's just really good.
We'll move on. I've chosen Stuart Armstrong Copeland. He was born in Virginia on July 16th, 1952, as the son of an archaeologist and a CIA agent. He found success with British new wave band The Police, as well as being involved in bands like Oysterhead and Animal Logic. He's also produced many film soundtracks like Wall Street, Men at Work, Good Burger, and We Are Your Friends. The television series The Equalizer, Dead Like Me, and The Amanda Show, and also the video games Alone in the Dark 4 and the Spyro the Dragon series. He also writes for opera, ballet, and has done some orchestral work too. Stuart Copeland is one of those examples of a musician behind the drums who's almost like a lead instrument in the band, because you listen to the Police records, and yes, it is Sting. He writes the lyrics, he writes and delivers the lead vocals, but it's all about what Stuart Copeland is doing on the drums. He brings that kind of dub and jazzy loose feel to it, but he's got an amazing sound that's always immaculate, and his hi-hat work is absolutely incredible. At all times across, you can recognise him across the Police's records. Interestingly, their biggest hit was Every Breath You Take, which doesn't really have much input from Stuart Copeland. He sticks very much to a 4/4 beat. But on everything else, he's just so prominent in the makeup of the song. You listen to Oysterhead, The Grand Pecking Order. That's an incredible album with Les Claypool from Primus and Trey Anastasio from Fish. And they make some really cool jazz fusion stuff. And it's so recognisable that it's Stuart Copeland. And I've always thought that about everything that I hear that he does. Anyone else? Thoughts?
Yeah, so he's renowned for being quite a busy drummer in the way he plays. I think it's I remember stories in the 90s of how the Police all hated each other, so they're all just basically trying to solo over the top of each other. And I think I feel so sorry for Andy Summers, isn't it, who is clearly the weakest of the three.
Yeah. But he's still really good.
Oh, he's still really good. Yeah, absolutely. But it's I think Stuart Copeland starts off in a sort of weird prog band called Curved Air, where he's a last-minute replacement drummer for a tour. And as a young guy, and they all fall out, and then he comes back to England and and he is essentially the catalyst behind the Police. And to start with, he started off writing most of the songs, and then it sort of becomes he gets like maybe one or two an album. And I think I have a lot of respect for him as a musician. I think also as a pioneer of that sort of busy style of playing that quite a few people on our list use, including Adam Betts, who we've already talked about. I think Copeland would be an influence on them as well, because it's that sort of busy, syncopated, over the top of a 4/4 beat that Copeland does really well. Again, he's another one. There's some guys on this list who have really unconventional techniques of playing. I think he's probably a bit more in the conventional sense, but busy, obviously, and overplayed, but not in a bad way. And yeah, he's when I talked about time centers before, he's always on it. He's not pushing, he's not pulling, he's always he's very on it.
Yep. I mean, I've got to admit, I quite like him as a drummer myself. Like, he is essentially, to me, like the king of 4/4. Like, I've heard interviews where he will say, like, obviously with the Police, and he said, I play these pop songs, and people don't need me to go crazy. They don't want me to go crazy. So every song he'll play essentially a 4/4 beat, but it's what he's playing around those beats and how all the stuff he can do within that. It's almost like he gave himself a parameters he has to work within, and how much can he push that. And I think he's incredible for that. Like, I've watched live videos of the Police where he essentially starts off on the kit playing 4/4, then he'll within the same beats get off the kit, walk to his percussion stand, which is essentially half a bloody orchestra. He'll hit all, like, anything around him. He'll hit all the gongs, he'll fucking even get the harp out, he'll do anything between it, but he'll still have a snare near him and hit snare. Like, if you watch him, it is insane, like, the stuff he can do based on those parameters that he's set himself, if you see what I mean. Like, so you'll hit any pop song, like, if you're not really listening, you'll just be like, oh yeah, it's just a straight beat. Until, like you said, like, you'll hear his hi-hat work, or you hear his cymbal work, or you'll hear his, why the fuck's there a bongo there for some random reason? Like, he's a very, very busy drummer, but in a very, very understated way from what I've heard. I've got to admit, I haven't heard loads of Police, so if you go, if you want to tell me, like, the Police had, like, a random 20-year prog career, then I wouldn't know, but from what I've heard...
They were a very short career, from 78 to 83, they were pretty much done.
I mean, but I would almost consider him not just a drummer, but just a percussionist, if you see what I mean. Like, there's a very different thing, and there's one or two other people on this list who I would consider.
I think that comes a lot from his love of world music.
Yeah.
He's got a massive, like, he's really into his Latin stuff. And he's
he grew up all over the world because of his dad's job.
Yeah, so he's taken influences from all different kinds of, rhythm and percussion and stuff. And he kind of, like, what's the word? He's built it into his own style in such a way that he's able to kind of bring out what he needs when he needs to do it.
I almost got a bit of reggae style from him.
Yeah, it is very much like that. It's more about the feel. Like, you'll very rarely hear him just sticking a sick fill. Like, he's always in the pocket, but very, very well. I don't know.
He's a very tasteful musician. He's very tasteful. But then I guess if you're in a band with Sting, then you're kind of on the back burner already. You kind of know that there's a big ego who's going, this is how the song should sound.
He used to have "Sting is a cunt" written on his set as he played, and he used to bang the drums really hard when Sting was being a cunt.
I think that there's a thing here with Copeland. It's like this thing where there are some musicians who are in bands who are who are talented enough to be session musicians in their own right. In that you could throw them any song and they would do their best job on it. And he's one of those people. It's like kind of, he could be like a drummer on, like, I don't know, like Saturday Night Live or something, and it'd be like, no matter what the genre, no matter what fucking style, he'd be like playing and it would fit.
I don't know, I think he'd struggle in Black Dahlia Murder.
Yeah, probably. He wouldn't be great in Slayer, but
I don't know, I want to hear that.
I mean, I'd be up for it. Yeah.
He's a musician's musician. He it's the music first, his own technique after. He uses his technique to serve the song. And, there's no better musician in the world than someone that sits back and goes, well, my ego doesn't matter. It just, what does the song need right now? And Copeland is fucking perfect at that stuff.
You can tell how influential he is on their sound as well, because they've only really reunited in around 2007 for a series of gigs. The album that they produced in 2008 from that, he's not lost. He's always the same. Like, he delivers the same kind of. It's that Stuart Copeland vibe on every track that he's on, and he doesn't try to branch from that because he doesn't need to. It's perfect for the Police's sound, and everything that he's made is very carefully selected to be, as you say, Al, within that parameter of what Stuart Copeland brings. but he's the best at it. So
Yes.
next up, we'll go for Martyn's first choice of the evening. Alexander Mavis Supercock Evans
Fuck off.
was born in a thunderstorm on the 19th of May 1987 and has enjoyed stints in Voodoo Bohemians, Gigolo Galleon, The Wife Beaters, Johnny Love and Bad Credentials. He enjoys painting miniatures, shed rock and wanking in the bath. No, it's not really Alex, but he did ask that I put that in.
Well, what can I say about Alex Evans? Well, as a musician, I look up to certain musicians, and as a guitar player, I look up to. But there's only one drummer that I really look up to, and
because he's taller than you.
he's the best drummer in the world.
I mean, he's a
What
lot of
can I
things.
say?
He's a lover, just a strong role model. I heard about his legendary penis.
He's a beautiful man.
Can anybody still buy your albums anywhere else?
Yeah, I've probably got about 40 of them in my cupboard.
Well, Martyn, your real choice was Kelly Scott, the American drummer for Failure, who were active as a grunge outfit from 1990 to 1997, but returned as a bigger sounding alternative rock act from 2014 to the present, coming runner-up in the Cacophony Sessions Album of the Year 2021. Martyn, you're always banging on about Failure, so let's give you another opportunity to bang on about Failure, but more specifically the drummer, Kelly Scott. He is great. Why have you picked him?
Because Failure are amazing. Yeah.
But cycling around, listening to Failure.
Listen to Failure.
Why am I not a member of Failure? No, man, there's probably no other podcast out there that's mentioned Failure so much. I don't know, but no, man. My choices for this were based around drummers that I've been listening to a lot recently. So, the past few months. And in this case, it is Failure. The band I've listened to probably more than any other band for about a year now. I don't know, something about them. But so the reason I chose him was because I had a absolute fucking nightmare choosing drummers. There's too many that I love. And when you look at the 90s alternative rock scene, there's just how can you choose a drummer? When there's Matt Cameron, Sean Kinney, Dan Carey from Tool, it's just
Lars Ulrich.
Lars Ulrich. Yeah, Alex Evans. What the fuck? How can I choose a drummer? And I was just like, I'm just going to choose the drummer from a band that I love so much at the moment.
But that's fair enough. That's essentially what I did.
Yeah, that's the only reason I chose him. And one of the things I love about him was he just fits the band. It's just it isn't his band. It's Ken Andrews' band basically, and Greg Edwards as well to a point. And it's their band, and they have a vision. And what I like about Kelly Scott is he fits in with the vision of the people who are actually creating the vision of the band. So when I talk about musicians playing for the song and playing for what the band are trying to create and putting the ego aside, Kelly Scott's a great example of that, in that he could go all balls in going, oh, I'm a great drummer, whatever, and he is a great drummer, but he doesn't. He's kind of what does the song need right now? So it's kind of there's a lot sonically going on in Failure's music, a lot. It's complex, not so much in the way that Tom sees complex, but it's complex in the alternative rock world, in that there's a lot of sonic stuff going on. There's a lot of melodic bass lines. There's a lot of extremely complex sort of atmospheric guitar going on. There's a lot of noise in the kind of vocals, bass, and guitar sort of side of things. And what Kelly Scott does really well is let that happen and just play to the strengths and just go, I could put in a load of fills here, but I won't. A really classic example of this is their biggest hit, Stuck on You, which is fucking a beautiful song.
Which is my favourite Failure song. I've been listening to that about 3 or 4 times over the last couple of days.
It's an amazing song. And it's literally just caveman drumming. It's just him just going bah bah bah.
But I think he's what give them their space rock sound, because he's the one utilising the space. They're making the noise and he's utilising the space. And I think that's why they have that kind of vibe to them.
Absolutely, man, and that's totally it. I think that the reason why he is such the perfect drummer for that particular band is because he does go, this needs space. It needs space. It doesn't need fucking like stuff going on with the drums. He just holds back a lot, and you can tell a lot of the time. There could be a fill here. There could be this big fucking like. Double bass thing here going on. He doesn't do it. He just holds back all the time, like constantly. He absolutely lets the band breathe, and that's what's beautiful about it. And like as a musician, as a guitar player in a band, and you're trying to write stuff and you're trying to get a song sorted. You kind of like there's times when you go. Everyone's trying to get their own ideas in there. Everyone's trying to like go. I've got this idea. I've got this sound, and everyone's trying to like. Push themselves in. Kelly Scott is a genius at not doing that and going like, what are you guys doing? And I'll just sit back and I'll put over that what I think the song needs. So, and also another thing about it is like, I always root for the underdog, and there were many other drummers that I wanted to choose as well that were like, a lot of the alternative rock drummers and shoegaze drummers and stuff, like the drummer from Swerve Driver, who's fucking incredible, the original drummer Graham Bonner, and the drummer from Slow Dive, or the drummer from My Bloody Valentine. They're fucking great drummers. But what they did, they were like, the drums are not the primary like focus of this band. It's got to be all about the vocals and the guitars or whatever. And
well, not on My Bloody Valentine. The vocalist is terrible.
But no, I love a musician who knows when to shut the fuck up. And like, there's no other member of a band that doesn't know when to shut the fuck up than a drummer. Usually, drummers by their nature are very loud, and you can't help that. That's just a fact of being in a band. When you turn up to the rehearsal space, you have to mix your sound in to match the drummer's volume, but also in the recording studio as well. And I always respect drummers who are able to go like, do you know what? Fucking what does the song need? That's the most important thing. And the best drummers are the ones that do that, just like Alex Evans.
What's everyone else's thoughts?
So I find this quite an odd pick, because I like the band and I like what he does, but when Martyn says he holds back, having watched the way he plays with how his technique is, now bearing in mind I'm not a drummer, I don't actually see how he would be capable of doing a fast fill, because he literally is the most awkward drummer to watch.
He actually reminded me of me, you know what I mean? Like his playing style was very similar to me, where it's not very orthodox and a bit.
He looks like he's been electrocuted. He's bolt upright. His arms are close to his body, and he looks like he looks like it's so uncomfortable to play drums that way. I mean, so he plays for the song really well. But you look at, I don't actually know if the way he's playing the drum kit when he's playing in Failure, I don't actually know if he'd be able to play a big fill with that technique, because there's just no fluidity.
Yeah, but that's the point.
Which suits the band. It suits the band.
That's the point.
Perfectly.
He doesn't want to play the big fills. He doesn't want to do that. He's basically going like, this is my drum part. I'm playing it. And that's what's beautiful. He's going, this is my part. I'm playing it. I'm not here to be like the big hero of the band or anything. I'm literally here to like going to be the guy at the back and just do what the fucking band needs to do. Because Ken Andrews and Greg do all the fucking like cool stuff at the front.
I think we've got to be very careful with going, he doesn't want to. So like, I could quite happily say that I don't want to play a Primus bass solo in the middle of every song. I don't want to play a Primus bass solo in the middle of every song because I can't, not because I don't. Yeah, just not because I don't want to. And I think the thing is, when you watch his technique, I don't know whether he would be able to play like that because his technique just wouldn't allow it.
To be honest, that's a good point. Maybe that's a good point, and maybe that's cool. Maybe he is just one of those drummers that is unable to play that kind of thing, and that's a good thing because he knows his limits. And if you know your limits as a musician, what you do is you perfect what you are able to do, and you don't try to like do something that you're not able to do.
See, this is when we find out that Kelly Scott actually listens to this because he loves having smoke blown up Failur's arse on every episode, and then he releases a YouTube drum video of a blistering solo just as a fuck you to me.
He is a great drummer, and if he is listening, I salute you, sir. But this does reek of Martyn picking Failure just to talk about Failure, and I am surprised you didn't pick Roger Taylor from Duran Duran, because then you could have had another Duran Duran conversation.
I did explain that at the beginning. I chose drummers that I'm listening to at the moment.
You did.
I'm choosing bands that I'm into at the moment because there are too many to choose from, and I was like, this is what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for bands that I'm listening to at the moment, because next week it might be a completely different choice.
Well, it's also hard as like because I watched his playing and I think Failure are okay, and to be honest, I didn't mind his drumming. There's a difference between a great drummer and a competent drummer, and I think he's very competent. And like Martyn says, if you like the songs, and for example, like if one of Martyn's songs that he thinks is amazing, if they had a different drummer, he might play a different drum beat. He might not like it as much. It's as simple as that. Like, so, because we're watching drummers like isolated, it's very hard to watch a drum cam of a guy like that and be blown away. Like, you're never going to watch that and be like, wow, he is shit hot. But that's kind of missing the point, isn't it?
It needs to be in the context of the song for me. For me, drummers, it needs to be in the context of the song. Like, I watched, actually, I did a little experiment. I asked for about a few weeks, I asked drummers, musicians who are not drummers, and non-musicians who their favourite drummers were. And the answers were all different. Drummers always chose like Neil Peart, Mark Portnoy, the technical people. The musicians who were not drummers chose like drummers who held a good groove. Dave Grohl came up a lot. And the people who are not musicians always chose the personalities, which was like Dave Grohl, obviously. And that said a lot to me. I think if you listen to any musician in the context of what musical instrument you're playing, you're going to think differently. You know, like as a guitar player, I'm like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani. They're fucking beyond. They're incredible fucking musicians. But if I was a non-guitar player, I might choose Jack White. You know, it's like kind of that's the thing. It's like kind of in the context of how that instrument sounds in the music that you're listening to is so important.
But the bottom line is as well, like, we rip on, people rip on Lars a lot, but I really like Lars as a drummer, but your limitations also is what creates your sound. So it's so you can say, oh, they're really amazing at what they can do, but what they can't do will shape how they sound as well. Like, there's a billion things I can't do as a drummer, but you'll probably be able to recognise my drumming over a lot of stuff compared to someone else. So for this guy, like, when I was listening to the songs, I myself would have played a fill here, or I would have done this here or done this here, but he didn't. And a lot of the time as a musician, that's quite impressive just to keep a steady beat for like 3 minutes and just do minor alterations to that beat throughout a 5-minute song. That does show a lot of restraint, and especially for drummers, restraint isn't something that comes naturally. So, like, when I listen to one of his songs, and I'll be like, oh wow, that was solid, and that sounded really good, which is why I liked him. Like, I quite liked him as a drummer, because if you watch drum cams of 1,000 different drummers, like, not many would limit the groove to what he does. And we know Martyn's a big fan of like repetition in music anyway, and like a song that like repeats the groove a lot. And for a band like that, for a sort of band that Martyn really likes, he's absolutely perfect.
That's it exactly. Al. I think it's basically like You know, you write a song and you're like, kind of, we don't need lots of fills and stuff. We just want the song to work. And, you know, for a drummer to have restraint, like you said, must be such a difficult thing, because you just want to show off your chops and stuff, you know.
Well, it's like you playing guitar. If you played a riff, just four chords for 5 minutes, you'd want to start mixing up. You'd start putting in bits in it.
You'd want to throw in some stuff. Yeah, you would. But to be able to just play those 4 chords over and over again, that shows a musical talent, I think, in especially in our modern age now, where musicians are wanting to be really good at what they do. To be able to not show off is such a fucking wonderful thing. It's going like, right, what this song, what does it need? It just needs this basic thing. Just let it do its thing. And yet restraint in musicianship is the hardest thing to master. You know, it's that whole cliche, isn't it? It's not about what you play, it's about what you not play. And, you know, as a guitar player, I've learned that the hard way. And I'm learning it now in my own band. You know, I'll be playing something, I'll be, this is fucking amazing what I'm doing. And then, like, Ian, the other guitar player, will go, would you mind not playing those 2 notes? And I'll be like, oh, I don't know. But when I do that, I'm like, actually, that sounds loads better. And, you know, it's just, restraint is such a beautiful thing in music. Just being able to just go, these are my limits. I don't need to add anything to it. I just need to, like, just do what the song needs. And I think that's what Kelly Scott does really well as a drummer.
We'll exercise some restraint, and I pause the discussion on Kelly Scott there. Move on to our next choice. Next up, one of Tom's choices, William Scott Bill Bruford, born on the 17th of May 1949, is an English drummer from Sevenoaks in Kent, and percussionist who was the founding member of the progressive rock band Yes, but left in 1972, moving on to work with King Crimson from 1972 to 1974, before touring with Genesis and others. In 1978, he formed his own group, Bruford, which was active until around 1980, but he's largely since been retired from about 2009 onwards.
Bruford, his background is as a jazz drummer, and then he joins Yes in the mid-1960s, and they started off as a Beatles cover band. And if you hear their first album, which is called Yes, different from the Yes album, which came a few years later, just to confuse the fuck out of everybody, they actually have Beatles covers and stuff in there. But he, over the course of Yes's career, particularly by the time they released Fragile and the Yes album before that and Close to the Edge, he manages to he's got much more subtlety than a lot of the other drummers at the time. You think that he's at the time where John Bonham and Keith Moon are like the big drummers, and I think he's got a lot more. Bruford, he's often a little bit loose, but he's got it's just a little bit more refined, a little bit of finesse in there, a much more dynamic range. He doesn't hit it hard. He doesn't hit the kit hard really at all. And there's a great story about when he started playing in King Crimson, because Robert Fripp is notoriously difficult to work with.
Unless you're Toyah Wilcox.
They don't really work together in a musical sense. They just work together in a non-musical sense, which is probably
in a
different.
carnal
They
sense.
have done something to. They have done something together, released something together, I think. But anyway, so apparently Bill Bruford tells a story about when he's interviewing to join King Crimson. And Robert Fripp says, to join King Crimson, you have to develop a style of playing that is completely unique and that you only use in King Crimson. And when you leave King Crimson, you could not use this style again. And then when they made King Crimson's Red, they in 1972, is it, or 73? Yeah, it might be 74. It came out. It's about 40 years ahead of its time. You could release King Crimson Red today and it would still sound, the guitar tones on it and the drumming would still sound good today.
Well, I've said to you that the last track, Starless, sounds like Muse, way ahead of Muse's inception.
Yeah, it's so, and Bruford, they're a three-piece at that point, you know, and so the drums become, the fewer members you have, the more integral to the sound the drums become, and I think Bill Bruford's drumming on that is exceptional. And what's really interesting about it is it's totally different to the style that he uses when he plays in Yes. And what he does, like, you listen to Heart of the Sunrise by Yes, and the snare rolls coming into it are just, it's, I know you were saying before, Dan, about you'd listened to Roundabout by Yes, but you didn't really know Fragile that well, and my response on the group chat was, well, you're in for a treat.
To be honest, though, listening to that record, the best two tracks on it for me were the opener and the closer, so Roundabout and Heart of the Sunrise.
Yeah, they are the best two tracks on it.
In the middle, there's too many kind of medieval-sounding twee guitar riffs for me.
Yeah.
But when Chris Squires and Bill Bruford are really jamming together and creating an awesome rhythm section, that's when I was digging the album the most.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Squire is probably my favourite bass player and my biggest influence on my bass playing. But it's like, I like the way he plays drums. He's so understated compared to a lot of the prog drummers, but still manages to play really intricate stuff. And I think he's very influential, because I think without Bill Bruford, you've got other jazz drummers who go into rock, like Jimmy Chamberlin is the obvious one. Sorry, drink everybody. I mentioned Pumpkins, and I think that without Bruford, none of that exists.
Dan, you were saying you liked some Yes earlier.
Yeah, I listened to the Yes album and was really impressed. I've never heard of Yes before. Obviously, it's a word. It means yes.
It's the affirmative.
It's the affirmative. So it's one of those bands where the word of the band is already another word that you find it hard to find. I've ever heard of. Does that make any sense? It's almost like it's just the word yes.
Yeah, you're not going to find them easily in a Google search.
They're not very Googleable.
I had the same problem with anal cunt.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I listened to it. Really impressed. Surprised. I'm going to actually spend a bit more time going through some of the stuff because I enjoyed it that much.
They're an unfairly maligned band. They get grouped into all of this sort of. There's all this, like, prog became a dirty word in the late 70s, and Yes get grouped in with that. And
it's when neo-prog started to become a thing, I think.
Yeah, like bands like Marillion and stuff. They deserve to be maligned. I mean, that stuff's just. I
don't know. I like Kaylee.
I quite like Marillion have got that song Tuck Song, which is really good. But go on. Okay, what I found, why the videos I have watched, because to be honest, I'm a bit like Dan, where I haven't listened to much Yes, if any, or King Crimson. So I mean, tell you what, King Crimson, they were a bit of a mindfuck, weren't they? They're sort of people that would have like parrots on their fucking keyboards just for the sake of having parrots. I don't know, they seem really random. But he's really good. But one thing I did like, his accenting is incredible. Like, we had in one of my bands, Johnny Love, we had a little mantra of always hit the hits.
Yes,
so,
I was in said band.
Exactly, yeah. Like, if there's, you would have heard that 1,000 times then. Like, he always accented to what the guitar was doing in the right place, like, religiously. He was, for that genre, he is a little understated, but he's just very, very proficient in it. He's got, like Tom said, he's got like a very jazzy style to him. It reminds me of like, there's a lot of drummers around that era which are very similar. Like, well, I've mentioned once, but like Bill Ward sounds a bit like him, like just in how they play. I liked a lot of videos where he almost had Stuart Copeland feel, where a lot of the time he would get off the kit and start hitting like his percussion instruments as well. He's another drummer who I would consider a percussionist more than anything. He had a song like in the intros he'll be whacking on the xylophones. He's got, he's the sort of person I would like, hit a lot of his use of rim shots are very good. Like for intros he would hit nothing but rims or just the hardware of his drum kit, and that sounded great as well. He's just a good drummer really. And I think it fits the music he wants to do very well. I mean, he's also very lucky, like bands like King Crimson and other, like I said earlier, like the music makes the drums. So if you are in a band like those bands where you can essentially do whatever the hell you want, I think he very much flourished in that environment. He's very good.
But like all members of King Crimson, was not allowed to flourish for long before being tossed aside for the next one. Robert Fripp is pretty brutal. I mean, bearing in mind, what's the name of the bass player, the bald bass player who played with Bowie and Peter Gabriel? Is it Tony Levin? Yeah, Robert Fripp, I believe, at some points has sacked Tony Levin. You know, like if Robert Fripp that tells you the level that Robert Fripp's working at. If you've got Robert Fripp who will sack Tony Levin. You know, the guy who basically invented his own device for playing bass and plays on Bowie records. He's quite a demanding band leader, but a fucking amazing guitarist whose guitar tone was like light years ahead of anyone else's in the 70s. So, like, let's give the guy some credit.
Guitar tones, Martyn. What are your thoughts on Bill Bruford?
He was a great drummer. Like I said, I'm not really into prog. I find it personally a little bit too self-indulgent. I'm not a prog man. Yeah, I appreciate it as a musician and when I hear it and stuff, but like I did listen to some Bill Bruford stuff. Like I listened to I basically brought him up on YouTube, just some solo Bill Bruford stuff, and yeah, he's amazing. He does what he does well, but I'm not qualified to.
If you Google Bill Bruford solo stuff to watch his solos, you're watching videos of Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, Howe, which is not him at his best.
I need to call them for some legal matter, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think my point is I'm not qualified to. I think the thing is with prog with me is much in the same way as right now, like. I'm really not into technical guitar playing. I'm not into. But I know Steve Vai's got loads of new stuff out. I'm not interested at all. I just don't care. I'm just kind of like a little bit bored of over technicality and like everything being brilliant and perfect and spot on. I don't know. It might be just because I'm really just going through again like. My post-hardcore alternative rock phase again. I like mess, you know.
Let's move on to a different style then. Dan, let's move on to one of your picks because Frank Edwin Wright III is a German-born American musician, singer and songwriter born December the 9th, 1972 and better known by his stage name, Trey Cool. He's the drummer for punk rock band Green Day since 1990. He's also played in other bands such as The Lookouts, Sam I Am, Dead Mermaids, Boo Boo and the Brood, and Green Day side projects, The Network and the Foxborough Hot Tubs. So interesting career. And Dan, you take it away on Trey Cool.
So I did Martyn's thing, and I just picked bands that I like. And
next.
Yeah. Trey's a good drummer. He's not amazing. The thing that I wish he did better is if you go and see them live, he will always play the songs in the same way, no matter what. He doesn't seem to do that thing which some really good drummers do, where they sort of change it up night to night and depending on the feel, and I like that. So it's a shame he doesn't do that, but he does have some good solos and things like that in Burnout, Missing You, Bang Bang. I really like his work on some of the longer songs in American Idiot. Some of the songs,
Jesus of Suburbia is a decent workout.
Homecoming, where there's almost like 3 or 4 bits to the songs, and he really links the different pieces of each song together really well. So he's seen as a bit of a joker. I don't think he's really regarded that highly amongst drum aficionados.
It's his tendency to pull stupid faces in every photo. It's just something about it.
He is that kind of joker, but he gets the job done. They are predominantly a 3-piece, and I think, like Tom said, that means he's a big part of their music. I'll be honest, with this whole podcast episode, I don't know if I really appreciate drummers enough. Like, I don't know if I, as a non-music, I'm not a musician. I don't know if I really can determine whether a drummer's that good or not.
I'll let you in on a secret. Not many people do.
It's a very different listening experience when you're listening for the drums.
It is, and I don't ever listen like that. That's something that I've learned trying to research this is that I don't really pay that much attention to drums.
Well, it's like a lot of people don't pay attention to lyrics. They like the song, they like the chorus, but they don't really delve too deeply into it. It's what you listen to in a song.
The first time I became aware of I do pay a lot of attention to drums, partly probably because I play bass, But the best example of this is I loved a rock band, a metal band called ISIS.
I am editing that in a weird way.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I deliberately put a metal band called ISIS. Yeah, absolutely. But everybody who talked about, and ISIS have a drummer called Aaron Harris, who's amazing, who could easily have made my nominations. And everybody says to me, oh, ISIS, they sound loads like Neurosis. You should listen to Neurosis. You'll love Neurosis. Hated it. And it's because the tom work that Aaron Harris does, he uses lots of interesting tunings on his toms, and he does a lot of like quite intricate work on the toms throughout the pieces. And the guy from Neurosis doesn't do that. It's like the difference between, I don't know, Deftones and all the other new metal bands is Abe Cunningham. It's like great bass players. You only notice them when they're missing. Drummers, you only notice them when you put two bands, one band you like and one band you don't like, who are the same genre. You put them next to each other. It's like you could. This is a bit of a stretch, but if we go to the late 90s, early 2000s. You've got new metal bands and that sort of post-grunge bands like Stained, and you put them next to Deftones. Deftones sound heavier, not so much because of what the guitars are doing, but because of what the drums and the bass are doing. So Chi Cheng and Abe Cunningham made that band, and it's why I think, personally, for example, this is on the bass chat, but I don't like Deftones as much after Chi Cheng died. Because you only really miss it when the bass is gone. And it's the same with drums. So you'll find that you don't necessarily notice drums until they're not there.
It's why Sting's solo career is not as good as the Police, because Stuart Copeland's not there.
And also Sting in his solo career isn't predominantly playing bass, he's predominantly playing guitar. And
I will stand up for his record with Shaggy, because that bangs. It does. It really does. Listen to it.
So like Trey Cool he's not going to make the top 10 drummers of all time, but he serves his purpose within Green Day very well.
Take him out of the band Green Day, and Green Day wouldn't be Green Day.
Well, take him out of the band Green Day, and they make Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, which is fucking awful.
But no, I agree. I agree totally in that, like, he is an integral part of the band, and that, like Tom said, if you took Trey Cool out of Green Day wouldn't have sounded as fucking cool as they did. I like him, and also I like his simple style. He's just straight up. Again, like I said about Kelly Scott, he just serves the song. He goes, right, this is a song, I'm going to play along to it. I'm not going to try and show off. I'm not going to go, I'm the best drummer in the world. I'm just going to fucking play along to this really wicked track that my band have fucking written, and that's what I love about a musician. Trey Cool is, he's fucking awesome, and because he serves the band, he serves the song, and that's what every musician.
He's got a surprise up his sleeve though as well, because as I was listening to Warning, which is my new favourite Green Day album. The second half of it, you've got Misery, and I suddenly realised that he's Germanic. It's like an Oompa band, so he's got that kind of European culture to his beats at some points. You get it on things like Longview as well, because there's a lot of kind of heavy tom work, and so he isn't as straightforward as I first assumed when Dan nominated him. He's definitely more than a competent drummer, if we're going by our scale.
No, he's a great drummer.
I think he's very good.
He's simple but brilliant. That's the way I put it.
Well, like, the bottom line is he is a big part of the sound. Okay, for like the drum beat for Holiday, that's brilliant. The song wouldn't be the same without that song. That drum beat's incredible. Even like When September Ends, dun 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 dun, and then the close like that is the song, and there's a lot of songs in Green Day's catalog which it is the drum beat. You got to remember, they only play 4 chords for most of their songs, so a lot of the feel will be his sound, yeah, it might not be like ridiculously hard to play or anything like that, but they sound really good. Like and if you watch him play live, like Dan says, he doesn't do too many frills, but he does do the odd bits, and you can tell he can fucking play, and he can play a lot better than what he's showcasing. Like he can play a lot more technical than he is showcasing. It's like, I'm sure Billy Joe can probably whip out a wicked guitar solo, but we just don't ever hear him do it. But some of his drum beats are amazing. His tom work's very good. Like, just maybe not like Phil's galore, but his general just verse beats where all in toms. He's very.
It's that German heritage.
It's that though. What you just said then, it's like the closed and open hi hat thing. It's like they're things that you don't notice when you're listening to it, but if they weren't there, then you would totally notice it. You'd be like, it wouldn't be as good a song if those tiny little bits that he did weren't there.
Yeah, exactly. In a genre like that, 'cause they're not like the quickest band either. So in a sort of mid-tempo punk band, it's very noticeable what he is playing, and it does sound very good. Like he
does mid-tempo very well. He does mid-tempo perfectly, I think.
We'll move on. Martyn, next up for discussion is one of your selections. Samuel Joseph Fogarino was born August the 9th, 1968 in Philadelphia, and is most famous as the drummer of the band Interpol, whom he joined in 2000, before the release of their debut album, Turn on the Bright Lights, in 2002. A very good drummer. Martyn, tell us more.
Again, it's a band I've been listening to a lot lately, mainly because I think out of any band that I've listened to forever, they've influenced my guitar playing more than anyone else. In my band, when I'm rehearsing and stuff, I come up with stuff and I'm like, fuck me, that's so Interpol. But what I love about him is
stick that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, it's not just like his style, which is very it's post-punk, isn't it? What more can you say? It's just like again, it's minimal. It serves the song. It's like he doesn't overplay. He just does what he needs to do and holds the groove and the beat down. So like, groove is everything for me. I need a groove. That's all I need. And he's fucking incredible in that way. That the song, again, like a bit like Failure, in that there's a lot going on outside of the drums. There's two guitars, and they interplay, and there's a lot of like over harmonics, and and the bass is quite like melodic as well. There's a lot going on, so the drums need to be simple, and they are really simple. But what's also amazing is like the sound of the drums. The sound, like the tonic. Like I don't know much about drums. Al will be able to school me on this, but like the tuning of the snare and the tuning of the drums are so perfect. They just sound amazing. They're recorded so well. He's just a fucking incredible drummer in the way that he just doesn't play more than he needs to play. And like there's
he's very similar to your last guy.
Very similar. Yeah.
I think he's better.
I thought he was better. I thought Fogarino was better, but I'll explain why he isn't.
No, I agree. I agree Fogarino is better. I think Fogarino he's my favourite drummer of all time, actually, personally. But there's a couple of tracks on the third album where the song dies out, and it's just left that the outro is literally just the drums.
Does it do that on Rest My Chemistry?
No, he does it on like Pioneer to the Fools, where the band fades out, and like the whole band fades out, and it's just left with just the drum track on its own, completely alone.
Always reminds me of the drum track on Isaac Hayes' cover of Walk On By. How it ends with just the drums. Perfect.
Yeah, just the drums, and it's like I could just listen to those drums all day. There's so much emotion in those drums alone. Like I rarely get that with drums, where there's emotion within the drumming. It's like, you can get emotion in like vocals, obviously, and emotion in guitars and bass. It's easy to do, but to get emotion into drumming is just really, really difficult. I imagine. I'm not a drummer, but like I imagine it's really hard to get an emotion into drumming, and Sam Fogarino does it so really well. It's just that cold, heartless, like machine kind of like post-punk, kind of like, you know, that industrial, like, you know, it's just fucking beautiful, man. Like, I just fucking listen to it, man.
I sort of agree with you to a point. So I listen. So I've been an Interpol fan since the beginning. Somewhere I've got one of their debut singles. We released on Chemical Underground Records in like 1999 or something. Okay,
Can I buy it off you?
No. It's worth a shed load of money now. And to start with, I really like the drumming on their first 3 albums, probably. But then Carlos Dengler, the bass player, left, and Paul Banks took over on bass. And the drumming on Marauder, released in 2018, is fucking dreadful because he's lost without Dengler. The bass players and drummers make a team, and Fogarino does not work without Carlos Dengler. Like the drumming on Marauder. He did an interview before he released Marauder, before they released Marauder. And he talks about how he wants to incorporate swing, and Paul Banks is not a good enough bass player to do that, and so it doesn't. On the drumming on Marauder, particularly when you watch live videos of them, it just doesn't work. For me, it just doesn't.
I agree,
it's just not as good.
I don't think that's down to Fogarino. I think that's down to the rest of the band.
Well, it's Fogarino needs Dengler, and Dengler needs Fogarino in the same way that your great rhythm sections need each other. You know, you need a good bass, like Jameson and one of the other picks on this list. You know, like they need each other, and Fogarino, I don't think, is a great drummer without Carlos Dengler playing bass. The two of them together are a great rhythm section. On his own...
The reason I disagree with that is just hearing Fogarino on his own, like literally playing solo.
Oh yeah, playing Obstacle 1 solo was fantastic, but that was written with Carlos Dengler. Like I sat and watched the video.
It was written with him, but like I hear Fogarino's drum tracks, and like on their own they're fucking amazing.
It doesn't work from Marauder onwards. It doesn't work for me. Like I think if they'd not really up in 2000 till 2014, whatever that album was, yeah, I would have agreed with you.
Well, we'll disagree. We'll agree to disagree on that. But you know,
yeah.
Let's bring Al or Dan into the conversation. Dan, you said that he was Fogarino was better than Kelly Scott.
Yeah, but it might again be like I was saying. It's hard to judge. For me, it's hard to judge based on drummers, so I like the songs more than I do in. So that's part of the issue is what he's doing in these songs. I find more enjoyable than what Scott was doing in theirs, because I just thought that music was bland and boring. That's probably blasphemous.
You're right to think that.
Yeah.
No, man.
Not that Interpol are really rocking my world, but they seem at least a bit better. Yeah, I mean, I think what we said about Scott was that he was filling. He wasn't overdoing it, and to me, that's not an amazing thing. It's fine. It's not accolade. It's just well done. You didn't fuck it up. I don't know. It's like damning with faint praise, I think, is what we're saying.
Hey, you would not believe how hard.
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure it's so tempting to just want to go. But
just not fucking up's difficult.
I mean, there are a lot of YouTube videos where Fogarino is just doing some of these on his own in his own studio, and I think you were saying a minute ago, Tom, that it was written with the original bassist. But it shows that on his own in a studio he can do it, and it can sound incredible. I don't know enough about Interpol to know how far downhill he went when they changed over, but.
Or if he did, Tom might be wrong.
I mean, no, Tom can't be wrong. I'm not going to say that.
He has been wrong before.
Watch the live videos of the tracks that they released in 2018. I think they did like Jay Leno or the Letterman or something like that. And you watch it and you're just like, no.
Is that when the guitarist dusts his first chords?
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's dreadful.
You can't judge a drummer based on one bad performance.
Well, yeah, but they did
think he played bad
multiple
on that, didn't he?
around that time.
Yeah, maybe around that time, maybe, but no, man, I'm going to disagree. Fog's the man.
There's a good Six Music session on YouTube as well.
I mean, I'll quickly get in. For me, he seemed like simple but effective. The only thing I did notice, the thing that made him pop out compared to a lot of drummers, I liked his use of toms for building up and down in songs, if you know what I mean. He uses them a lot. He doesn't really go for fills. He's more of a building on the floor and rack tom. He's just more like straight beats, like matching the bassist, which is probably why Tom's saying he is. But other than that, he didn't really jump out to me. Other than, it's like Martyn said, if you like Interpol, you like his drumming, done. You know, but that's it really.
I'm so glad we've got a drummer on this podcast. It's really cool to hear.
Well, where is he?
Yeah, he was rising on the floor tom and then dropping on the rack tom. What the fuck is a rack tom, man?
It's the one that sits above the bass drum.
Oh man,
It's when you keep your drum in a rack.
Not a ram.
No.
Oh, God.
My next choice, I think that there's not going to be a lot to say about this one because a lot of it is highly speculative. But William Benny Benjamin, born in Birmingham, Alabama on July the 15th, 1925, and dying of a stroke April 20th, 1969. Nicknamed Papa Zeta, was an American musician often going uncredited for his work with Motown's house band, the Funk Brothers. Several Motown record producers, including Berry Gordy, refused to work on any recording sessions unless Benjamin was the drummer. These sessions produced classics as Money, That's What I Want by Barrett Strong, Shop Around by The Miracles, Do You Love Me by The Contours, Get Ready and My Girl by The Temptations. I think he also played on Uptight, Everything's Alright by Stevie Wonder, I Heard It Through the Grapevine by Gladys Knight and the Pips, Going to a Go-Go by
Break
The
Stuff,
Miracles.
Limp Bizkit.
Not Break Stuff, but it's also purported that he played on I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie, Honey Bunch by The Four Tops, You Can't Hurry Love by The Supremes, and countless others.
Sugar You're Going Down by Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
Rain and Blood, Slayer.
It's one of those where we don't know for sure if it was him on the tracks, but most sources suggest that those are fairly accurate, and that's a list of songs that I think is so influential on how pop music came to be at the turn of at the end of the 20th century, that you can't overlook someone who played with that much of an impression on the music itself. So something like My Girl by The Temptations, that drum line is so perfect for a song that's written by Smokey Robinson and sung on by one of my favourite voices of all time, David Ruffin. And still, you can listen to it for the drums and it's magnificent. So when you've got parts that are that great on records that are that immaculate, I think that you can't be overlooked in terms of this conversation. But unfortunately, we don't know for sure which tracks he played on. You can only really listen to it. And as we've established, we're not experts on listening to drums, or some of us aren't. So it's difficult to say because I'm not an expert on differentiating between different players. But if the information that I'm going by is accurate, this is such a overwhelmingly good discography that you can't say that he's not in the conversation.
He has a fill named after him.
Yeah, he does. He's got the fill where it's the fill that starts pretty much most of the songs that he played on. Most of the songs that he played on starts with the drum fill, and then the song comes in. And he's also known as probably like I don't know, Northern Soul. He's pretty much the sound of Northern Soul. Like he pretty much, without that drum fill, Northern Soul wouldn't exist. Probably the most uplifting genre of music ever invented. You know, to have a drummer to do that, have a fill start a song, and then an entire genre build from that. It's just a beautiful thing. Yeah, so he's definitely part of this conversation because I would consider him to be one of the most important drummers of all time, in my opinion.
I could have nominated the other Motown Funk Brothers drummers like Pistol Allen or Uriel Jones, who went on for much longer. But I think just looking on the impact of it, I went back to the start and said, who is the first one to have such an impact on pop music? And it is Benny Benjamin.
He was singled out by the Beatles, wasn't he?
Dude, how many drummers have invented a genre? Tell me right now, how many drummers have invented an entire genre?
Other than Alex Evans.
There's not many of us that have.
Sex Raptor Punk is big in Japan.
He pretty much invented Northern Soul, which is like one of the most important genres in music.
If we're going down this route, I should also point out that Steve Reich is a drummer and invented or co-invented minimalism. So, just got to throw that out there.
That only had a small impact.
Well, it had a big impact on the Beatles, I should add, and his...
So it was minimal, yeah?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't get that.
Right.
I got it now.
It's a very different style to the other drummers we've been listening to. It's very much from the era of like big band, if you know what I mean.
He's the oldest drummer on the list.
Yeah, and like obviously, I mean, but yeah, his drumming's very good. It's from that era where it was all for the song, and all the little things you would notice would be like where he decides to keep the snare buzz still going, after a hit, and little things like that. And it's so subtle that you would never, a lot of things wouldn't jump out to you as that's insane, but it's just very, very, very highly competent. Like to be in a position like that to write for these people and to be in all these songs for these up and coming artists for, Motown, like you have to be good and you have to be liked and you have to be a very, very good professional. And, let's be honest, back then, not have a giant heroin addiction.
Which is what got him, and that's...
Oh, fair enough, he did then. So
a lot of them had big heroin addictions, but it's...
He was stopped by about 66 because he'd fallen into drugs, and he died in 69, so...
Like you said, Al, again, it's that whole thing of serve the song. Like, what is going to be the best thing I can play to make this song sound good? That's the most beautiful thing about any musician. And that's, again, what this drummer did. He's just like... make the song sound good at the end of the day.
To add to my reasoning for picking him as well, I mean, I wanted to get in a different sound, and Al's picked upon the fact that he is a different sounding drummer to the majority of the others on the list, for sure. I could have gone down the route of going for a funk drummer, so I could have picked someone like Clyde Stubblefield for James Brown, or Tiki Forward or Bigfoot Braley for Parliament Funkadelic. But I think that it's the pop impact. These songs are classics, they're standards, they're songs that everybody knows. And everybody knows the drum part to My Girl. Everybody knows how the snare fits, how it goes. Yep. That's something that's different to what these people, the other drummers on the list are bringing. They're so ingrained within pop culture that they're completely unignorable.
Like, if you're in a position where... like, I don't know, someone who doesn't look into, like, who isn't a music enthusiast, but just kind of likes music, they listen to it on the radio, they might buy Adele's albums because they're idiots, that's what people are. But when you see people who don't really make music a hobby and they air drum certain songs, there's always that one bit, like, everyone will start air drumming.
We'll get onto that specific bit later on.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if it's complicated, it doesn't matter about anything, it's just you've done your job. Like, if you get noticed, like Dan says, he doesn't really listen to drummers, but if there's a bit in a song where even, like, where Dan would air drum, guess what? That he's a good drummer, because he picked that bit that writes...
So I want to replicate that, yeah.
Exactly. It's hit that part of your imagination. I think it's also, like... those intros that he did, that particular fill, it's like you hear that and you can almost hear the song straight after without having to hear the song.
And it was constructed for that very reason as well, so it has to be good. It's a hook. You got the drum beat itself, the drum intro has to be a hook to the song. And
it was totally a hook.
Gladys Knight on the Pips version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine is incredible as well. It's not it's not the one I've heard the most. You normally hear Marvin Gaye, and I don't know. I think this is better. Just going to throw that out there. Very different.
I love both of them equally, but for me, Marvin Gaye, when he took it live at Montreux, that is such a great performance that it really is the true version of that song. So I've got to give it to Marvin. But yeah, I see your point. And there's so many examples. I mean, I mentioned You Can't Hurry Love. We'll talk about that later on as well. But that drum beat, that doom 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 doom, it's invented by Benny Benjamin, I think. Most people believe. So yeah, you can't ignore that in the conversation, can you?
No, absolutely not. Absolute master. Absolute master.
We'll move on to the next choice for the evening, which is one of Alex's picks. Nick Ritter was an American drummer for Warbringer.
For the most obscure drummer on the list.
Yeah, we're shifting styles quite drastically here. But Nick Ritter was an American drummer for Warbringer from 2008 to 2011, working on 2009's album Waking into Nightmares.
Maybe the best thrash album ever made.
It's great. And splitting work on the follow-up Imperial Anthems with Dew Scented. He died, tragically, in 2017 at the age of 37. It's not much that I could find in terms of a biography.
I mean, to be honest, I don't even know how he died. I even tried to figure out how he died. It's probably something...
He's pretty obscure, but he does kick ass. So
oh, he's so good. Like, it's kind of what got me into the band, because their first album didn't have him on. He was only on for the second album, and the first album's quite good, but it's not as good. And it's quite funny, even the guys in the band hate that album because they say the drum sounds shit.
No.
Which I find hilarious, because I love the drum sound on that album. It's a bit clicky, I guess, but I don't know. But I don't think I've listened to many drummers where the fills are so good and very inventive, as well as speed. And quite frankly, his double bass work is insane. Like every time they double up on a riff, like, you know, run, like he doesn't take the easy way and just hit triplets over it, like he's like, and it's throughout, and it's some of the drum beats are just so catchy and so good. Like the only reason I did this as a Martyn for me, because, you know, it's like if someone says to you like, oh, your all-time best drummers, you know, we could all pick 1,000. So I had to really just sit there and go, okay, what actually are my favourite drummers? And this is why he's on it, because I think he's insane. Like when you hear the fill on Severed Reality before it kicks into the double bass,
that
bit,
song
like,
kicks so much ass.
Before the start of the solo, you know, that fill that goes into it. That's probably one of the best fills I've ever heard. And he's just one of those guys where, you know, history will forget him. Like, they've had a longer term drummer, the one after him, Carlos something, I can't remember his second name, who's an insanely good drummer, but I don't think he's as good because it's not quite as inventive drum wise. But he might technically be better, but this guy rules. I mean, if anyone wants to have any idea how good this guy is, like, listen to Waking into Nightmares. He's just that good. You can blast it, and it sounds organic as well. It doesn't sound like a lot of metal bands where it sounds quite I know, like it's obviously to a click track, and they've obviously redone it 1,000 different times to make it sound absolutely perfect. It sounds very human, but also really, really, really good. And also his ride work as well. Like if you listen to like his bell hits just for like straight beats, you wouldn't. They even match guitar. Like everything matches. Like literally, when I say hit the hits, he hits every single hit all the time, and I love him for it. That's kind of it, really. I just recommend if people want to have any idea who this guy is, just listen to that album. There's like one ultra grainy drum cam like video on YouTube. There's like one, and even then you can't really get an idea of it. But I just really like him. One of my favourite drummers, if not my favourite drummer.
He had to have been good considering he was hired to play in Prototype, who have a track that he doesn't play on because I don't think he recorded an album with them, but they're like notoriously like hire and fire with drummers, and he was hired by Prototype, who have a track that's on Rock Band or Guitar Hero or something that's notoriously impossible to play. They're fairly big-ish progressive metal band. The thing I found as soon as I listened to this album, Al, is I knew you'd love this drummer the second the album started, because it's an exact cross between both of the other drummers you nominated. He is exactly halfway between the two. He's got a slight punk scrappiness with an incredible technical double bass pedal. It's like,
I mean, come on, man.
Oh yeah, but it's
well.
because his fills are punk. in a technical metal environment, which is why as soon as I heard him, I was like, Al will love this, because there's an element of punkness to it in what is otherwise quite technical and metal. But there's just something punk feeling about it. I think he might be pushing the time centre like I talked about earlier, and there's a little bit of looseness to it, just enough looseness to give it a slight punk vibe. And so I could see why you liked it straight away, because it was like, yeah, this is going to be one of our favourite drummers.
Oh, I fucking love it, man.
It sounds more human than bands like As I Lay Dying, who do similar things.
I also saw the video that Al was talking about, where it's just him on its own, the drum cam thing. And yeah, I was pretty blown away. I was like, fucking hell, this guy knows how to play, you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not a drummer, but I can appreciate musicianship. And this is someone who has obviously spent a lot of his life just learning that fucking kit. And I love to see that, even though it's not a genre that I listen to. I was just like, fucking hell, man. The technicality of it was just spot on, really spot on. Amazing drummer, yeah.
So fast and impressive.
It's like what Tom said. With his, to be honest, that probably is what it is. To be honest, I never knew the term for it. Pulling, I guess he slightly pulls, but it gives it almost a swingier feel especially for a thrash band. It sounds a lot swingier than a lot of other thrash. It's probably why I don't like their stuff as much afterwards, because they lost that. It's almost like that what's missing thing, and you can't quite put your finger on it. That's it. I think he's insane. Plus his bloody ride work, man. When he gets those 4 hits in, for 1 hour, anyway, I'm just procrastinating now. Very good. Listen to him.
Just impressed by the speed of it, really. I think I would probably have a go at doing that and be exhausted cardiovascularly. It's not a word, is it? Within a minute. I just don't know how he does it. It's impressive.
Well, because the thing I like about him most, because there's plenty of drummers who could play it faster, maybe play faster, probably better, but
one's coming up.
But exactly, but it's just unique. It sounds very unique. It's just very unique for his style. Is very unique for that genre. You won't hear many drummers that sound like him in it, and that's why I like him. I guess it's my genre. So anything that sounds unique and I like.
Next up, over to Tom again, because Zachary Charles Hill was born in Sacramento, California on December the 28th, 1979. He's an American multi-instrumentalist and visual artist, best known as the drummer and co-producer of the experimental hip-hop group Death Grips, as well as drumming for math rock band Hella and performing on Marnie Stern's 2010 self-titled release.
He was on the album before that as well, I think.
Yeah, Zach Hill is a fantastic musician and very influential on modern pop music.
This is controversial, but I think he's the best drummer on this list. Because I'll explain.
Because he's your pick.
No. No, but that is one of the reasons, obviously. But so the thing I love about Zach Hill's drumming is that he's done a variety of styles. He's done hip hop. He started Hella, a very, very punk. So I know we talk about them being math rock, but they're a very punk act. And he's done all these styles, and he plays amazing drum beats on what is essentially a fucking broken toy drum kit. And all of his double bass is done heel toe, and he makes this beautiful, his work on Marnie Stern's stuff is my favourite of his work by far.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, that first track.
Yeah, for Ash, yeah, it's the first track. And I absolutely love it because it's really lyrical, despite the fact he's playing on what is essentially a toy. It's like an out-of-tune drum kit with broken cymbals, and he manages to make something beautiful and lyrical out of it. And I mean, the guy has, again, insane fitness to play like that for a whole set. You watch live videos of him playing with Death Grips.
He's in good shape.
You'd have to be to play drums like that. But I think there was I watched one of the Drum Teacher React videos about Zach Hill, and it's like, he probably has one of the best right feet in drumming.
Yeah, I think I watched that video.
Yeah, I shared it over, and it's like, yeah, it's because he's doing running double bass lines all on one pedal. which is quite impressive, I think. So yeah, I love the way he plays, whether it's in Death Grips or Hella or Marnie Stern or about anything he's played in.
That first Death Grips album is incredible. Money Store. Fantano gave it a 10 out of 10. I don't think I'll go that far, but it's certainly like a 9 out of 10 releases. It's so insane, but you can hear how it influenced people like Childish Gambino and Kendrick Lamar and all sorts of stuff quite early on. Danny Brown, all that experimental hip hop.
And it's done with live drums, not a drum machine. It's a guy sat behind a kit.
It's a Questlove kind of scenario where like he's a real musician that's leading that hip hop act.
I'm kind of annoyingly, this is one of the guys where when I was rushing to listen to all the drummers, I watched his the rehearsal video on YouTube, and God damn, that guy can play. He was incredible. The power he gets from, I loved it. I love his enthusiasm. I love his body language when he plays it. He's obviously very, 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 very talented. And so I thought, after watching that, after going, wow, this guy's amazing, I thought, oh, I'll listen to the band he's in. So I listened to, like, I didn't go into Hello or what are they called?
Hello, mine. Yeah, Hella's his band.
Yeah, I didn't listen to them because apparently I just missed out because I'm an idiot. So I just went into the hip hop one, Body Count. Body Count. Death Grip, I keep saying Body Count. And then I listened to some of their songs and I was like, well, this doesn't really show how good it is, does it? So I was a little bit, I'm basically judging him purely off a rehearsal video that was 10 minutes long, but that was enough to make me appreciate he's absolutely incredible. Like, as Tom said, his right foot, like, he's doing the Portnoy fills, but with one foot, that's always, pretty impressive to me. I can't heel toe like that. And he's just, I like any drummer that hits ridiculously hard and he's sweating his tits off whilst he's playing, his hair's drenched in sweat just because it's a pure enthusiasm. There's something that could be to be said about, obviously you can, hit light and be perfect and be really good. Hell, the guy I just mentioned before, he wasn't sweating in a drum video. But there is something to be said about someone who plays with that level of enthusiasm on top of being technically incredible. So, yeah, just a really, really good drummer. He's one of the drummers on here where you look at him and just go, well, yeah, he's in the top 2% of drummers on earth. Yeah, very good. Ripping six pack as well.
Not surprising when you play drums like that, though, is it?
Nailed that Brad Pitt from Fight Club look. Good for him.
Yeah.
We'll move on. Lawrence John Loz Colbert was born 27th of June 1970 in Kingston, England. Best known as the drummer in Ride and formerly of the Animal House, the Jesus and Mary chain and Supergrass. He also recently had his photo taken with Cacophony Sessions podcast host Martyn Lay at a 2022 show, which we've previously discussed. Martyn, Loz Colbert, talk to me about his influence on Ride sound.
Well, I'll be really quick. He's just a fucking great drummer, man. He's like, he's part of the shoegaze scene, I think one of the things about shoegaze is it's so focused on the vocals and the guitars, mainly the guitars, that drummers get overlooked a lot. And when I was choosing my picks, I almost chose Loz straight away because he stands out from a lot of the shoegaze drummers in that he's a lot more technical, whereas. Shoegaze is about lots of affected guitars and stuff, and the drummers are kind of like the kind of just hold the beat, and often in recordings especially, the drums are kind of like mixed out of the mix, if that makes sense. So you can't actually hear much of the drums in a lot of shoegaze records. But Ride were different in that they kind of the drums were at the forefront and they were very technical, and he's a very technical drummer. He's kind of he's very quick. He's very I don't know if Al would agree, but he's kind of like pushing the sound forward almost.
Definitely what I had in my notes, that he really propels their sound, because without him they'd be a very low energy band, and with him they're not.
He had very good dynamics. So he very much reminds me of that era of drumming as well. Like, you know, sort of like he actually really reminded me of Jimmy Chamberlain of Smashing Pumpkins, actually, in how he played. Like, he could play soft, like even in like the same song, but you know, like in that genre of music, they'll play a bit quieter for the verses and they'll kick it into, like, you know, they'll stick it on 11, you know, for the chorus, whatever. But like, his dynamics are very good. He could play very quietly and go very heavy and play he could play very quickly once he got going as well. I like to start. It's very much that old rock, you know, late 90s rock drummer. You know what I mean?
He is. It's very 90s, and I think he's very influenced by a lot of the garage rock from the 60s. You know, which is very just raw.
Yeah, definitely.
Just very raw, just straight to the point. Just get what needs to be done, but like add as many embellishments as you want. Like what they did a live version of Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles, which has that classic drum beat, like do do do. It's very busy, but it's got a groove.
Ringo Starr is that the original.
Yeah, exactly, and you can hear that influence in his music, where it's very much like kind of looking back to the 60s. It's very 60s drumming, but kind of like, you know, modernized a little bit. And with Ride, you know, they're a dynamic band. They're a loud, quiet band. You know, they're not a in every song they do. They're never at one point of volume. There's lots going on, and also with the fact that there's two shoegaze guitar players and a melodic bass player. Again, a bit like the Ophelia and Interpol. There's a lot going on sonically. So the drummer has to like find his place, and I think with Loz Colbert, he finds his place. But the difference with Loz Colbert is he's very musical in the way that he does it. He's not like just holding the rhythm and the groove like, you know, Kelly Scott and Fogarino, like I mentioned earlier. They're holding the groove. With Loz, he's very musical with it. He's like, he adds stuff in, like, you know, it just he's very melodic with his drumming, I think, personally. He's just very retro. It's just very, you can tell he's listened to a lot of 60s drummers, and he's built that into his own kind of like lexicon of language of drumming. And it's just you know, like he knows the dynamics of the song, but doesn't necessarily need to hold back so much, because he knows that he can add to the melodicism of the complexities of what Ride do, because they are a complex band. You know, they're not you're not your average band. You know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of fucking ambience going on. But what Loz does, he holds it down. And again, like what Tom was saying earlier about a bass player and drummer locking in, I don't know many bands that lock in as well as Ride do in their rhythm section. The bass and the drums lock in so tightly, it's fucking heartbreaking. You know, as someone who wants my band to do well, I want to be in a band like that where the drums and the bass lock in that well, so beautifully, so that then the guitars and the vocals can just soar and do their own thing, which Ride do really well. So I think that's one of the reasons why Loz Colbert made the list. He wasn't my first choice. There was someone else I chose. I think it was Dave Abraziz from Pearl Jam, maybe. But like, it was only after meeting him and having my photo taken, I was like, fuck it, I've got to fucking choose Loz, man.
Like Ride, if you said top 20 of my bands, like of bands of mine, they'd probably be in the conversation. Loz Colbert, if you said top 20 drummers, he serves the song really well. Is he going to go into my list of top 20 technical drummers? No. That said, he did do like a 24-hour drum marathon, so the guy's got some stamina.
Yeah, but that's the thing, man. Like, I think this is where this conversation's really important, because all three of my choices are not technical drummers. What I would have done, if it would have been like, who are the top top drummers who are technically brilliant, I would have gone like, Portnoy, Neil Peart. I would have gone that way. But I think it much like any musician, it's nothing to do with technique. It's to do with what they bring to the table. Neil Young has written some of the greatest songs of all time. He can pretty much play 3 chords, and he's one of the best guitar solos of all time is Cinnamon Girl, and it's one note, and it's like kind of, it gets down to that conversation of technique versus
Martyn, we
soul.
know you're bitter you didn't get to meet Taylor Parks on the Neil Young.
Yeah, I am.
Trying to get your points out now.
I'm so bitter. But I think it's an interesting point. It's like, and I'm loving this episode because like it's just really highlighting to me that like I do still actually appreciate technique very much. I've just kind of forgotten how to a little bit. I kind of like, I've kind of gone down that route of like, fucking it's technique. It's all technique. Where's the soul sort of thing? And like, this has been interesting kind of because I've had to like research some of the drummers we talked about, and I've watched them and I've been like, fuck me, man, it's mind-blowing technique.
That's kind of what I hope this episode does, is it reignites discourse about
absolutely drumming. That's music, isn't it?
It's an underrated profession.
That's music. It is like kind of what's the difference between like the Dead Kennedys and like the Mars Volta?
I know this one. You can't wash your hands in a buffalo. No, never mind.
But yeah, I mean, I just love the discourse about technique versus like just musicality versus like a musician not having limits to their technique but still using their limits to their best. I just think it's an interesting conversation. It's been brilliant.
The next up is my final pick of the evening. I could have gone for so many different drummers. I was at one point going to go with Sheila E., but then I realised that I actually think Prince is a better drummer than Sheila E., and then I wasn't going to subject Prince to be discussed by Al and Tom because
he's not. I would absolutely slate you if you put Prince in this.
They have a case of the wrong uns on that one. So instead, I decided that based on his media presence recently as an ailing man, Philip David Charles Collins is an English drummer, singer-songwriter, record producer and actor, born in London on 30th of January 1951. He played drums for prog rock band Genesis throughout their lineup changes before eventually pulling double duty as the lead vocalist as well after the departure of Peter Gabriel, which would lead into a solo career from 1981. Between 1982 and 1990, Collins scored 3 UK and 7 US number ones as a solo artist, and between solo and Genesis projects, he had more US top 40 singles than any other artist during the 1980s, and drummed on everything from Tears for Fears' Seeds of Love project to Band-Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas. Retired from drumming, he's still touring with Genesis despite his appearance. He's not a well man, Phil Collins, and it does make me sad to see. But you can't deny, he's quite a polarizing figure in music discussion, because you either love Phil Collins or you hate Phil Collins. But I don't think you can deny the fact that, I mean, just for that one drum bit that we've alluded to earlier in the air tonight, it's the greatest drum fill of all time. And I think that Phil Collins has got to be in the conversation just because of how versatile he is as a drummer.
I preferred Savage Reality. I think that's a better drum fill.
That's a great song, don't get me wrong. But Phil Collins, I mean, it's just some of the pop songs he's been on. But then if you look at his more intricate work, I mean, he did some jazz fusion work with Brand X. The drumming on the early Genesis stuff is phenomenal. I mean, even up into Duke, which is my favourite Genesis album, having gone back. That some of the stuff on there is still really intricate and interesting. So he never really lost that as a drummer. He just became more successful with his pop records. Phil Collins can't be. I don't think you can give him enough praise. He was to do all that and to make great pop records as well. takes some doing. He was a busy man in the 80s, and I think he deserves some praise for it.
I'm a big Genesis fan, but of the Peter Gabriel era. And Phil Collins joined in 1970. So Genesis had already existed. They'd already had a couple of records out before Phil Collins joined. Their first record's not great, but the second one before he joins is really good. And he originally, when he first joined as a drummer, made that band brilliant. Like, in that genre, in that era, him and Bruford, for me, are like up there. I mean, fuck Nick Mason.
Yeah, and Nick Mason's a fucking genius, so I
don't rate him.
You just don't like Pink Floyd. But whatever.
So anyway, Phil Collins made Genesis better when he joined. And, like, for me, his drum work on Selling England by the Pound and Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, he's doing interesting beats in odd time signatures with great accents. Like, his snares work on the Battle of Epping Forest is fantastic. And then Peter Gabriel leaves the band and Phil Collins takes over as a frontman. And he's decent as a frontman, but he's no Peter Gabriel.
I'm going to be controversial and state that I think that they got better when Peter Gabriel left.
Oh no, because then they made like fucking... So the thing is, after Peter Gabriel left, eventually Phil Collins then also leaves and they get the fucking singer from Stiltskin as the frontman. They stole whatever he's called, Ross or Russ, from Stiltskin. Stiltskin were a great band, and then they dissolved so the singer could go and take over in Genesis in the 90s. No,
sticking the drummers, I think Phil Collins gets way more fucking negative regard than he deserves. I think it's probably because of his solo work in the 80s. People go, Phil Collins is just like an 80s.
Oh, dude. I love him as a drummer. I don't like him.
That's what we're here to discuss him as.
As a drummer, he was fucking amazing. Absolutely incredible. Like, his work, especially with early Genesis, is fucking unbelievable.
But then this begs the question, and this is quite a relevant question, actually. So, Phil Collins or Chester Thompson? And then you've got to ask Dave Grohl or Taylor Hawkins in the same way. So you've got drummers fronting, you've got another who bring another drummer in. Is the other drummer, like, I would argue, Taylor Hawkins was a better drummer than Dave Grohl.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about.
In the same way, would you argue that Chester Thompson is a better drummer than Phil Collins?
But that's not what we're talking. We're here to discuss Phil Collins.
Well,
and Phil Collins is fucking awesome.
Well, yeah, he is, but he also rates Chester Thompson very highly because he brings him in to drum for them. So it's a similar scenario where you've got a drummer turned frontman getting another drummer in.
I always say they're heavily involved in the writing of that, though, because as a solo artist, especially someone like Phil Collins, who is a musician, and he produced things like Chinese Wall for Philip Bailey, which produced a magnificent Easy Lover, which is, again, another monstrous drum performance. And because he's a musician, he knows what he would want on the drums in those songs, just because it's not him playing it. And it's similarly to how I would view when Prince has a guest drummer in. They know what they want. It's just sometimes it's easier to get somebody else in. It's quicker to get somebody else in when you've got other duties. And I think if I look at it from that perspective, I have to say Phil Collins is the greater drummer in that respect, because he's the one in charge of the artistic direction.
Yeah, I'd agree with that totally. Phil Collins knew what he was doing, man. He was just fucking technically brilliant, just absolutely technically brilliant. But like his, it's one of those things where a bit like Dave Grohl, he got more interested in songwriting and got more interested in being a frontman, and got more interested in like doing his own stuff, like outside of drumming and just being a drummer,
Well, like kayaking
and hiking on the moors and stuff. But yeah, and you do, and you can imagine that. Imagine being such an amazing musician and you're kind of stuck behind a drum kit like a sad bastard, and you want to make music.
No offense, Al. Al.
Yeah, I can actually imagine that. Yeah. being behind all these absolute incompetent morons. Yeah.
I'm waiting for your solo project where you record like countless film scores for 80s romance films.
It'll just be bad thrash.
Dan, I'm keen for your thoughts on Phil Collins.
Yeah, I'm quite a big fan of Phil Collins. I think I said it before we started recording that my research, if you like, for this was just to watch the Cadbury advert where Phil Collins in the Air Tonight was used, played by a man in a gorilla suit.
I don't know how they managed to teach a gorilla to do that.
Infamous. Well, I don't know how they got Phil Collins to wear it, but it's very impressive.
Yeah, he was due a shaving at that point.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't a suit, perhaps. Yeah, what can we say? A talented musician all around, really.
And also, we haven't mentioned the gated drums reverb sound yet, Tom.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that was invented on Peter Gabriel's album of all things. Phil Collins guest drummed on that, and the tracks on. I listened to Peter Gabriel 3 Melt, as it's known, from 1980, and the tracks that got me the most on that were the ones where Phil Collins was guesting on drums. I really liked about half of the tracks, and some of them left me a bit cold. And I think I'm starting to come around to the idea that for me, Phil Collins is what I prefer, and Peter Gabriel is hit or miss.
I don't know. I'm not going to get into that argument, but I love Peter Gabriel. In fact, I'm going to say a very controversial statement in that I think Peter Gabriel is up there with David Bowie.
I would back you up on that, actually.
No, I don't think so. We'll do that another time. The penultimate entry for tonight is Lyle Cooper, who was the drummer for Los Angeles technical death metal band The Faceless from 2007 to 2013 when he quit due to differences with the band's direction. He was featured on their acclaimed 2008 album Planetary Duality and can since be heard with the band Abhorrent. Alex, one of your picks, talk us through the life and times of Lyle Cooper.
Well, I'm assuming you guys watched the drum videos, which are on YouTube, and you saw the best drum face ever.
He has got the best drum face of all time.
As a person who played in punk bands which pushed my speed limit, I do have quite a drum face myself, and I always like to watch any drummer with that sort of drum face. He's a really good drummer he's kind of benefited from being in a band which allows him to shine a lot, if you know what I mean, just because they are like weird time signatures and cool stuff like that. But quite frankly, he's just flawless, like for the genre he's in. Like the speed he plays at, his fills are fantastic. His ghost notes are insane. Like it's all the stuff like he plays which metal drummers don't play, which when you watch the drum videos you'll see it's just, you can tell he didn't start off as a metal drummer. It's quite hard to explain. Like other than he's just fucking amazing. like he looks like he's got really bad posture when you watch his drum videos. He does have bad posture, but there's one thing that's quite impressive. I mean, we haven't talked about it at all tonight, but his balance as a drummer is insane. Like he'll go from playing 16th notes to 32s, and the only thing you'll see him do is lean forward about 2 inches. And for the best drum face you've ever seen in your life. I think it's because this is kind of like do you like the band? Like he got me into blast beats and that style of drumming. I'd heard of blast beats and, some bands using them and that, but it was just before I was into like, Morbid Angel and stuff like where they do use them a lot. The first bands that really got me into that way of playing, I guess, like the Planetary Duality is, for me personally, one of the best, like, technical, deaf, I don't know, proggy albums I've ever heard. And his playing is so good, like, and it's so unique.
A particular standout for me is Xenochrist. The I don't even think, it's like a hummingbird is attacking a kick drum. It's insane.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's probably whenever we talk about bands I like, it's very hard for me to not try and hum every bit and be like, yeah, look at this bit. Like,
which is why half of the reason we bring you on, because you do it.
There's just that double somewhere. It's like, I don't know, I'm going to hum a bit. So, like, it's just that, like, when he goes, like, he starts off like, and it's like, it's just, effortless heel toes between it, and it's such speed as well. Like people can heel toe. Like,
sounds like machine gun.
Yeah, like it's not easy because I struggle with it myself. But like doing heel toe on one foot is it's tough, but it's quite good for like Portnoy fills where you do like which is what we talked about with what's his name that Tom liked earlier.
Zach Hill, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good technique to be able to heel toe and do fills like that, but to do extended periods of time, like you'll hear a lot of like metal bands, they'll do like breakdowns, if you know what I mean. Like they'll do a lot of the heel toe with double bass, but for a bit. But to do long periods of time and to sound clean doing it, it's very, very difficult. That's why a lot of like technical death metal drummers will do it's called the swivel technique for higher speeds. But he does the heel toe for that. It's just incredible. Like I just really like his fills. I like the amount of ghost notes he put into it. It sounds so unique, and it's mainly the quieter non-heavy bits where you really hear how good he really is. It's almost like sort of jazzy in places, and his playing and where he sticks the offbeats, and it's sort of things. Everything he plays is the sort of thing he will put it in a place where it doesn't feel natural to play it there, which is I find quite difficult. When you watch him and you go, why would he put a snare hit there, and why would he do that there, and how did he even learn how to do that? Because that would just throw my entire timing off. He's just a really good drummer. And they say it's technical creative differences, but I suspect it's the guitarist's incredible heroin addiction, which has caused pretty much a continuous lineup change since Planetary Duality, and which is why they've never been good since. Yeah,
I got that vibe from, I was trying to do some research and I could only see like fan forums and things like that, and it seemed to indicate that the front man was a bit difficult to work with because they've gone through quite a few drummers, I think, and other musicians too.
There's another guy, I think it's called Chase Westmoreland. He's actually he's filled in for the Faceless about a year or two ago, a couple of years ago now, and Christ, that guy can play as well. He would have been my honourable mentions list, but yeah, Lyle Cooper is great. He's just a very, 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 very talented drummer, and you got to put him on for the best drum face in drumming.
Yeah, he's definitely got the best drum face in drumming. I love what I really liked about him is he is. So some of the other guys we talked about, some of them are pushing the tempo, some of them are pulling. He is blob on, and everything that he's doing is it's ghost notes everywhere. So when you say about how he's putting snare hits in weird places, it's because literally his right and left hand are doing like 64th beats the whole time. So it's like anything can go at any point on those 64ths because the first of each is going to be at the first beat of the bar, and it's just going that fast. And it's like, and his double bass is great, but yeah, he's a very clean drummer, much almost to the point where when you watch the drum videos and you listen to his drum sound, it almost sounds drum machine-esque at times. It's very fast, it's very metronomic. Because I know there was all that talk about, was it Meshuggah who did an album where they used drum kit from hell and programmed it because the drummer couldn't play fast enough? And like Lyle Cooper must be the kid who grew up listening to that Meshuggah album going, no, damn it, I need to be able to play it. It's like, that's what it's like.
Like people who don't drum also, like they'll hear like a blast beat, for example, like you would have seen them playing it and you go, wow, that's really quick and that's impressive. But the thing that's most impressive, and it's the hardest part of doing it, I mean, all of it's hard because I can't blast at all. So my hand control's not even close to being able to do it. But it's being able to blast beat at the same volume at which you play the other beats. You'll see it a lot of metal drummers. The blast beats will be half the volume, if not a quarter of the volume, because they're playing really quickly. They have to essentially use all the bounce back on the snare. But when you listen to his, it is the same volume, and that's very, very, very impressive. It's the sort of thing a drummer would pick up on, but most people else would just go, oh, that sounds quite good. It's why you see a lot of death metal drummers, they'll play all of it quiet, because they know, well, the guy on the sound desk will be able to turn it up, so it will sound big and epic, but I can just literally feather touch it the entire gig, which is probably good for energy conservation, because, quite frankly, you got to play an hour of that. It's insane, but yeah, just so good. He's been my favourite drummer for a long time now, to be honest. Probably because I think the drum face is just endearing. That's why.
To anybody listening to this podcast, you need, if you don't know what we're talking about, just go and watch a drum cam video of Lyle Cooper.
There's that one bit where he's looking at the camera, but he's not looking at the camera, he's looking past the camera, but he has that little, he has that grimace on his face, he kind of nods
His eyes roll back in his head. It's really freaky. It literally looks like he's coming.
it's just extreme concentration, isn't it? Like you say, he plays like a calculator, and that's not because he that doesn't come naturally. He's literally shutting his eyes and just blanking stuff out.
His kit must be covered in semen.
Our final choice is your pick now.
I mean, we should have just started with this and then decided, yes, it's the greatest one on the whole list, and then ended the podcast. So you've done it in reverse order.
Travis Landon Barker, an American musician from Fontana, California, born on November the 14th, 1975. He's played drums with Blink-182 since 1998. He's known for his recent production work with hip-hop artists, including Machine Gun Kelly. He's a member of the rap rock group Transplants, founded the rock bands Plus 44 and Boxcar Racer, and thereafter joined Anti-Mask and Goldfinger. After his MTV reality show Meet the Barkers in the 2000s, Rolling Stone called him punk's first superstar drummer, as well as ranking him one of the 100 greatest drummers of all time. Travis Barker, the only other person I think Tom may have been alluding to earlier when he said that Dave Grohl is perhaps the most famous on the list, but there's somebody else who may rival him. I would certainly say Travis Barker is the person for me that fits that mould. Very famous man, but a very good drummer. Dan?
It's not very often that a drummer stands out for me, and I think Travis Barker is almost the exception to that rule. But I was listening. When we do these podcasts, it's sort of a balancing act between listening to the acts that I've nominated, that I already know, and listening to everybody else's that I don't, which I really should be spending more time listening to. But then I sort of get sucked into going, oh, this Blink-182 album that I haven't listened to recently is actually amazing, isn't it? So, yeah, I spent way too much time listening to Blink-182 again, and just going through some of the stuff, like I think I said to you earlier, I started with Jumpweed on Enema of the State, and just that song alone is the first track on the album. It almost, his drum parts almost make the guitars sound different. They almost drive the melody almost. It's strange. I don't know how he does it. He can do your simple kind of pop punk sound, but he will also shine in their sort of more serious songs like Adam's Song.
I Miss You is a particular highlight. What he's doing on there is really, really cool.
They have a range which goes from stupid pop punk song to every so often having a serious song like that with a bit more of a soft side to it. And he shines in either direction. His stuff on the Transplants is also really good. Transplants side of things, not really my genre as such, but I did listen to him for quite a while simply because of Travis. What is there else to say about him? I don't know the technical side of it. Just to me, he sounds bloody good. And I'd like to hear what people who know more about the technical side of it think. He is doing kind of your classic 4/4, I get that, but does it really well.
No, he's not. Well, yeah, he is doing that, but I mean, he is a very good drummer. It's every drummer will appreciate that he's a very good drummer. He's got his own style. You can probably hear his stuff. I mean, I listened to the newest Goldfinger album. He drummed on half of that, and you could tell the songs he drummed on and the ones he didn't. He is just a very, very good drummer. I joked on our group chat because I actually do prefer Blink-182's albums before he joined.
So do I.
That's it. That's probably in hindsight. At the time, I loved Enema of the State, and I loved Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
Dude Red Cheshire Cat are fantastic.
Now, yeah, just as a punk fan, I think I like the rawness of it more. And because of that, I actually probably prefer the old drummer because it's what I like in drumming. Double time drumming, boom.
The best album is actually the Mark, Tom and Travis show. Okay? That is actually the best album.
It is apart from all the lame kind of segues at the end.
They didn't age well.
So those segues at the time, at what, 90s, whenever, like 99, something like
I
that?
think it came out in 2000, I think.
Okay.
When we were 13, that was
At the time, it was like, oh, this is funny. I was, 13. But you're right. Looking back on it, it's aged terribly.
Yeah, just end the album when the music finishes and you're all right.
But the music is a weird cross between... So, like, live, Blink-182 are kind of not great. Like, if you go... Tom DeLonge's vocals are terrible live, generally. But if you listen to that album, it's almost like the fun and the energy of the live show with the more tidied up lyrics, tidied up sound. So it's a great combo for me. It's got more energy than the studio stuff. So highly recommend it, and I think it shows off Travis very well.
I like that when he records the hip hop and some of the Blink-182 stuff. When he has the songs where he wants to be hitting hard, he's playing with 2 drumsticks in each hand. That's kind of cool. Like he absolutely slams those cymbals, and it does sound very, very cool. Especially something like a hip hop beat where it's just merely a basic drum beat, but it's just got to be hit with extra punch. It does sound incredible. There's a reason why he's so highly regarded. He's just very good.
I think he brings to punk what Pharrell Williams has kind of brought to pop in the last sort of decade, in that he's got a very influential percussive sound that's very distinct to him, that he brings, that can turn an average pop punk song into this, give it more mainstream accessibility just because of the bizarreness of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a very, very good drummer. I think his career's always been a bit mercenary, because he started off in the band The Aquabats, who were touring supporting Blink-182, who then sort of directly poached him from that band. And I think because he was in a plane crash in 2008, like severe burns and everything.
Led to the relapse of DJ AM, who then died about a year after the plane crash. And
his security guard and the 2 pilots and someone else died in the crash, and they were the 2 survivors, which is awful. But it does feel like ever since he recovered from that, he's gone a bit Dave Navarro, but without drugs. So, like, you've got this incredible drummer who goes and plays on every record that's out there, but on every record that's out there, they just want him to play like Travis Barker. And I was chuckling at the beginning when you described the new Machine Gun Kelly stuff as hip hop, because it fucking isn't. It's so bad.
God, that song was so bad, that one.
Why are you soiling your legacy, mate? Like, you're clearly a good drummer.
He doesn't need the money, does he?
No.
Really?
Well, he's worth like 50 million or something. Like, you'd never need to work again at that money.
Mr. Kourtney Kardashian.
Yeah.
He's in that kind of Hollywood elite.
Recently married.
And one that Kanye's recently been kind of castigated from. So that there'll probably be a beef down the line somewhere. Kanye, Travis Barker. You heard it here first on the Cacophony Sessions. Come on, have a fight. Go on, do it.
So very much falling into the Dave Navarro trap of just working with anybody who'll give him a paycheck. Like, why the fuck is Dave Navarro playing on Christina Aguilera records? You know?
Don't trigger me.
He's becoming a pastiche of himself.
It's because he hasn't been in a band, really. I mean, I know Blink-182's still going, but they're not really, because they got from Alkaline Trio, nobody listens to it as much anymore.
You know, that's true. I think like the Navarro thing, if you were one of the primary members of Jane's Addiction, and you've lost total touch of the reality, what are you going to do?
Yeah, but see, at least Dave Navarro became a pastiche of himself for drug money. Travis Barker doesn't have that excuse. No, I'm deliberately being silly.
I think the thing that unites them both is that they're both incredible musicians. So that's
being silly. I'm not denying that Travis is a fantastic drummer and deserves to be in the conversation.
But no, I get it. It is that thing. It's like you get these musicians who are really like alternative rockers who were fucking great at their craft and like suddenly found themselves like being held up as like icons. and part of the Hollywood scene and part of the LA scene and stuff. And it's quite sad, but like, fuck it, man. I really don't care. Like, I've still got Ritual Della Habitual to listen to, and and same with Travis Barker. Like, you guys have got the Blink 182 albums to listen to. I'm not really a fan, but like, I know they were important to you guys, and like, that's kind of nice though, knowing that like these musicians did what they did, and they were fucking incredible at one point, and were at their zeitgeist. And like any human would do, you kind of like get a bit above your station, and like you take the paycheck.
It's similar to how Phil Collins went solo and he chased the pop scene. And Travis Barker's kind of done that. He's now working with poppier artists and put Machine Gun Kelly in whatever genre you want, but it's ultimately pop music.
Yeah,
and I think Travis Barker is working in much the same manner, and that he's just going to be around the pop scene.
I like to think that the likes of Dave Navarro and Travis Barker will be remembered for the stuff that they did well, the good stuff, like the really cool stuff. Nobody's going to be listening to a Christina Aguilera album in 10 years' time, but
I don't know. Stripped is pretty good.
See, this is the
proud here, man.
That album's got some great songs on it.
I like Candyman.
People are only gonna be watching the music videos. But anyway, if you can talk about like the likes of Dave Navarro and Travis Barker, people will be listening to the albums that they were great on in 20, 30 years' time, and going, fuck me, that was incredible, rather than those shitty little pop songs that they guested on. That they're not going to be things they're remembered for. Well, I would hope so anyway. I would really hope so, but who knows? We live in a mad world where, like,
all around us are familiar faces.
Image is more important than talent these days, so what do you know?
I think that seems as good a place as anywhere to kind of wrap up tonight's show. So those are some of our favourite drummers. They're not ranked in any way. I'm sure we've missed countless drummers.
We've definitely missed countless. No,
there's so many that we've failed to mention, as always, on this podcast. So make sure you remind us of that on social media. Follow our various other activities on there, such as our Facebook, our Twitter at Cacophony Sessions Pod, the blog, cacophonicesessions.wordpress.com. YouTube, and stay tuned for the Patreon. We'll have more details on that soon. But yeah, we'll be back with another episode in the coming weeks as well, which will end with the decision on what we're going to cover.
Can we please not make it guitar players? Because that would get too complicated.
Bass players!
Oh, the least important member of a band. Yeah,
fuck you.
I had one idea, and that was that we could return to when we did the Cacophony Sessions Does Pop, and take a look at some of the charts from 2022.
Yeah.
I was also thinking, give you the decision. Shall we look at the UK charts again, or shall we dabble into the US Billboard Hot 100?
The US, it'll be far worse, and we'll really have a rant. I reckon the US charts will be a good one, because it'll just be some terrible hip hop, and we can always have a massive rant.
Let's be bad. Let's go for US charts, man.
So next time on the Cacophony Sessions goes Pop USA. We'll be back very shortly with that episode.
Please tell me you introduce it like what's his name? Oh, who's the paedophile?
Who's the paedophile? And in a late addition to the Cacophony Sessions is our latest segment, very late in the day. It's Who's That Paedophile with Martyn Lane.
You know the guy. You know the guy with the big glasses. You know that fucking Charlie Brooker got this out of. No, he did like that chart show, and that he was like a fucking radio DJ.
Travis.
No,
Rolf Harris.
No.
Yeah, Rolf Harris.
No, it wasn't Rolf Harris. It was.
He was a paedophile, though, wasn't he?
No, he did. He used to do a chart show, and he'd do a rundown of the charts and stuff. But he was a pedo, and he had big glasses on. Oh, fucking hell! What was he called? I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Leave the audience in suspense now. They'll check in next week for who's the paedophile.
Who's that paedophile?
Please don't Google this shit. Like, please don't.
You'll end up on a
It
list.
might drum up some interest.
So, on that bombshell, we'll end tonight by saying, don't look up paedophiles online. Make sure you go and listen to some drums, intricate drum parts on tracks, and change your way of listening. We'll be back with the Cacophony Sessions Goes Pop USA in a few weeks. Until then, stay funky.
Bye.
Say goodbye, people. That's what we're supposed to do.
Oh, I've actually got to say bye rather than just wave.
Goodbye.
It's an audio
waving.
podcast.
Martin's too cool to say
Bye.
Right, yeah, he's waving. But he's...
Oh, can we also acknowledge before we finish that Martyn has held a guitar for the last 4 years for no apparent reason other than just to hold his guitar.
Yeah.
He hasn't strummed it once. He hasn't plugged it in. It's just sat there. It'd be like me if I just held a pineapple in my hand the entire show just for the sake
I
of
don't
it.
know what's weirder, the fact that he's done it for 4 hours or the fact that we made it 4 hours without bringing it up.